You know what I've been rewatching lately with Kanye and Hyena? It's been Evangelion, where we just finished the show and now we got to watch the movie. I've got the song in my head already. I know, I know I've let you down. I bet you've all seen End of Evangelion, right? Good shit. Okay, good. Also, folks, we changed up the lighting a little bit. Woo! Look at that HD. Um, I'm still fooling around with it a little bit. And we're getting new lights soon, so we can really get that bread tuber vibe. But I should have a slightly more human skin tone now. Slightly, perhaps. Um, you look sweaty. Yeah, that's because I only have front lights, but we'll work on that, okay? Yeah, bisexual lighting, you know how it is. Anyway, we got a new lens too, so that should be a little bit nicer. Why don't you just not be white? I voted for Biden. I was promised a dark skin tone. I voted for Biden. I don't know why it didn't take, you know? Anyway, you people are going to call me sweaty no matter what I look like. I just have too harsh of lighting on my face. I need to fucking duct tape my front-facing lights. Anyway, folks, we're going to get right to it. We have so much to go over. So much to go over. Oh god. So, as a reminder to everybody, I haven't gone over donos recently, not in the past couple of streams, and the reason for that is because I've had a cough lately, and while I love all of you, if I spend a proportionally larger segment of my stream reading donos, it makes it less likely that I'll have the throat power to go over non-dono content, which is a huge shame because here's a donation that I literally just got from YouTube chat. 50 Canadian dollars from Just Lexi, in all caps. Trans rights we da best, very cool, catch my copium chromium ringing out at you. Which I think we can all agree is an excellent donation. I mean, I want to represent these contributions to the forum. But unfortunately, until my throat is better, I can't promise I'll be able to go over donations as much as I normally would. That's not to say that they're getting lost. They're all stored in the API, since I haven't clicked out of any of them. And when I'm feeling better, or perhaps during a secondary stream, I'll go over all the donations that I've missed. So my apologies in the meantime. But for those of you who aren't donating, look at that. Now we get more streamlined content, don't we? Folks, we're not going to waste a goddamn moment of your time. Where the fuck is the legal conference? What's the deal with Men's Day? We're going to be talking about International Men's Day shortly, but there is something slightly more prescient that we need to talk about. Folks, it's genuinely unfortunate that the capital of the United States is over there on the East Coast, because it means sometimes my stream starts later than it would need to be to catch certain things live. The Trump legal team press conference, it basically, I think, just ended, but I saw some Twitter screenshots, okay? We need to get in on this right now. What the fuck is going on? So for those of you who don't know, Trump recently appointed Rudy Giuliani to be like his top man for the whole election fraud shenaniganry, which is kind of sort of like appointing a clown to the head position. You know what I mean? It would be like if in a last ditch effort, Donald Trump, in order to retain popularity and a high approval rating, declared war on Iran, and he's like, "Hello, and here's my top general," and he moves off to the side and introduces from Beppis the clown from the side. That's basically what we've got right here. Because Giuliani is a fucking clown, and a cheerleader, and okay, let's just take it away, folks. Yeah, pile in. Yeah.
Good afternoon, and thank you very much for coming. This is
yeah, no masks.
Representative of our legal team. We're representing President Trump, and we're representing the Trump campaign. When I finish, Sidney Powell and then Jenna Ellis will follow me, and we will present in brief the evidence that we've...
Listen, I'm a progressive guy, and today is International Men's Day, and all men are kings, okay? Short men, tall men, dick men, non-dick men, broad shoulder men, narrow shoulder men. It doesn't matter to me. They're all kings, okay? Except for Rudy Giuliani, okay? So I'm gonna get my body shaming out of the way right off the fucking bat. Rudy Giuliani looks like a fucking goblin gargoyle, okay? If Rudy Giuliani was entombed in stone and placed upon one of the rafters of a great cathedral looking down upon man, every time you look up from the fucking courtyard upon his visage from hundreds of feet below, you truly would feel the wrath of God. You know, the fear of God would be struck into your heart, because looking up at this wretched creature reminds you of the greatest depths to which you are capable of plunging, okay? Your immortal soul can be subjected to so much worse than the material tortures of the living world, okay? And Rudy Giuliani's visage is a reminder of that, okay? I just... oh, God. Isn't fascism supposed to be about aesthetics?
Collected over the last, I guess it is 2 weeks. Also, Joseph de Genever, Victoria Tenzinger here with me. There are a lot more lawyers working on this, but we're the...
Was that Tenzinger? Was that her name?
I guess it is 2 weeks. Also, Joseph de Genever, Victoria Tenzinger here with me.
I'm going to get way more than 10 zingers out of this press conference. Heyo!
There are a lot more lawyers working on this, but we're the... I guess we're the senior lawyers. And Boris Epstein. So,
and Epstein's in on this, apparently.
I guess the best way to describe this is when we began our representation of the president, we certainly were confronted with a very anomalous set of results. Mm-hmm. The president way ahead on election night, 700,000 or 800,000 in Pennsylvania. Somehow he lost Pennsylvania.
Dude, that's crazy. That's amazing. After Donald Trump told all of his followers not to vote by mail, and then they started counting the mail-in votes, and then his lead disappeared. That's crazy, dude. How did that happen? That's amazing.
We have statisticians willing to testify that that's almost statistically impossible to have happened in the period of time that it happened. But of course, that's just speculation. As we started investigating, both our investigations and the very patriotic and brave American citizens that have come forward are extraordinary. Extraordinary number of people, extraordinary number of witnesses. And what emerged very quickly...
I think this guy deserves the 1.25 playback speed. All the brave citizens who filed affidavits seeing they saw a very suspicious colored man enter the voting booth poll counting place while they were walking around outside protesting the vote counting.
This is not a singular voter fraud in one state. This pattern repeats itself in a number of states. Almost exactly the same pattern.
Exactly the same pattern in specifically the states of Georgia, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Arizona, and Nevada. Those are the specific states. Oh, for those states, listen, just mathematically, that's how it played out, okay? There's no relationship whatsoever between Trump's path to victory in those states at all. That just happened to be the states we're focused on.
Which, to any experienced investigator, prosecutor, would suggest that there was a plan from a centralized place to execute these various acts of voter fraud, specifically focused on big cities, and specifically focused on, as you would imagine, big cities controlled by Democrats.
There you go.
And particularly focused on big cities that have a long history of corruption.
Remember, folks, that for all of the bluster the Trump administration has with regards to this gigantic megalomaniacal fraud plan, anytime they enter a courtroom, they turn into little fucking bitch pussies, okay? They actually go in there and file lawsuits and then say they're not alleging fraud because they actually don't have any evidence of it. See, the thing is, it's not illegal to lie to the American public. If it was, no president would not be inside a jail cell right now. But it is illegal to lie to a judge. Just happens to be how it works out. So they'll go out there and they'll stand up here and talk to the American people and they'll say, we have irrefutable evidence from tens of thousands of witnesses that millions of ballots for Trump were destroyed. They were burned and incinerated. Then billions of Chinese Biden ballots were brought in. And then they'll go in front of a court, you know, and they'll be like, I just think it would be nice if you could make it so that when they count the ballots, they make the Republican ballot witnesses a little closer than the Democrat. I think a lot of the Republicans are old. They have bad eyes. They need to look closer to see the ballots. Like, that's That's what we're dealing with right now. These two people turned into absolute fucking pussies in court. There is no legal route forward for Donald Trump to hold the presidency. For all of the bluster they engage in, there is no fucking shot. All of this is theater.
The number of voter fraud cases in Philadelphia could fill a library. Just a few weeks ago, there was a conviction for voter fraud, and one 2 weeks before that. And I've often...
Wasn't the most recent conviction for voter fraud from a Republican? Wasn't that the most recent thing that happened? There was a Republican who committed voter fraud? Yeah, that was the last thing that happened. It was a Republican. Every time this shit happens, it's a fucking Trump supporter.
Said, I guess sarcastically, but it's true, the only surprise I would have found in this is if Philadelphia hadn't cheated in this election.
Damn.
Because for the last 60 years, they've cheated in just about every single election. You could say
they've been making this claim lately, too. By the way, it's just because it's black people. Just so you guys know. They're going to say the same thing about Detroit. They're going to say the same thing about Philadelphia. It's because it's black people, okay? That's the reason why. They're focusing on big cities with huge POC populations, and then they allege that Democrat control and corruption are what leads to their Democrat strongholds. It's just black people. It's black people.
Say the same thing about Detroit. Each one of these cities are cities that are controlled by Democrats, which means they can get away with anything they want to do. It means they have a certain degree of control over, certainly control the election board completely, and they control law enforcement. And unfortunately, they have some friendly judges that will issue ridiculously irrational opinions just to come out in their favor.
What is this? It appears Rudy Giuliani was getting roasted by the campaign staff live streaming the event on Trump's Twitch account.
Up on the screen, yeah.
Wait, what?
I do not.
Hey guys.
Entrepreneurs out there have started crunching data.
Did you guys catch the leaked Zoom info?
Could easily recognize
It just popped up on the screen, yeah.
that I do not have.
Can they hear us on the stream? I guess not.
I don't think so, but that's kind of cool.
To the point of mathematical impossibility that 186,000 votes come in at once, all for Joe Biden. That's like flipping a coin 186,000 times and it lands on the
See fucking Rudy's hair dye dripping down his face.
Happen. There is no reasonable explanation for the upshoots,
Can't believe they
straight
leaked
lines up.
Is that really from the Trump Twitch account? I have no idea if that's authentic. I don't know if that's just two dudes talking over it. I have no fucking idea.
So let's start with the specifics. Pennsylvania. In Pennsylvania, the margin of victory now for Biden, which is not a victory, it's a fraud, is 69,140 votes. The reality is that we are now at a count of 682,770 ballots, for which we have affidavits that there was no inspection of that ballot at the time that it was entered in the vote. It was a mail ballot. Mail ballots are particularly prone to fraud.
No evidence
We
of
were warned
that.
about that by Jimmy Carter, President Jimmy Carter, and Secretary Baker in a report about a dozen years ago, in which they said that mail balloting is particularly susceptible of fraud, that we should very carefully consider ever doing it, and that it can be taken advantage of.
Well, then it's a good thing that basically every election security official has gone over the results of this election and said that it was all perfectly above board. Guys, the fucking Department of Homeland Security, the Department of Homeland Security affirmed that that this election was the safest one in history. And then Trump fired him, unironically. The Department of Homeland Security cyber chief who presided over an elaborate election security effort guarding against foreign interference from fraud was ousted by President Donald Trump, following him claiming that this was the safest election that we've had, like, ever. Yeah, he was appointed by Trump, too. They are cannibalizing their own. There really are two paths. There are two paths right now for Republicans. You really either can be like a sane regular Republican, or you have to be like a crazy fucking loyalist. Like the Republican Party, I'll talk about this later, but the Republican Party right now is entering an unfathomable schism. It's unbelievable how divided the Republican Party is right now.
Justice Souter warned us of the same thing in a comment in an election law case. And even the New York Times wrote articles.
Oh yeah, if you ever want evidence that fascism is inherently self-defeating, look at how they treat their own, dude. This is unironically like the night of long knives within the fucking Republican Party. Trump firing officials left and right, people he appointed to, people throwing everyone off the board, fucking crazy-ass fucking fascists on Twitter and shit talking about how they're never going to support the Republican Party again. They're incapable of any type of like internal consistency or coherence. Yeah, circular firing squad.
About how dangerous mail-in voting was. And this is the first time we ever did it en masse. And I think we proved that all three are prophets. It's not only susceptible to fraud.
Except in court.
It is easily susceptible to fraud.
Didn't prove it in
particularly
court.
if you have a plan or scheme, which sounds eerily similar to what Joe Biden told us a few days before the election, that he had the best voter fraud.
The left has way more infighting than the right, though. Yeah, good thing the left's not in power in this country, though. Like, it's irrelevant whether the left infights. The left has never been in charge of this fucking country. Where, like, right now, there's a fascist government in power, and they're, like, circular firing squatting themselves. If we're in a position where there are unironic fucking Marxist-Leninists in government, then maybe we can have a conversation about lefties eating themselves up. But right now, Republicans have all the power in the fucking world, and they still can't keep themselves from self-destructing. So, like, yeah, we'll wait. We'll have that conversation soon, okay? We'll relive the great fucking ML anarchist split in American government soon. But for right now, it's the fascists, and they're doing just a phenomenal job, people. Just a fantastic job.
Team in the world. Well, they were good. I don't know that they were that good because they made significant mistakes, like all crooks do, and we caught them.
Except
One of them
in court.
was pushing out Republican inspectors. Every state, almost every civilized country, even Tanzania and places you wouldn't think of, have rules about inspectors, particularly for mail-in ballots. And
Yeah,
why
America
particularly
does
for
too.
mail-in ballots? Because they can more easily be defrauded, and you can't check on it. People who have never done a mail-in ballot.
I have here
I'm going to show you why it's so
one
easy.
mail-in fraud.
Well, you fill out an envelope like this.
Uh-huh.
You put your
Oh, he's already getting really sweaty. I can see it's coming. It's coming, people.
usually in New York it would be your assembly district and the precinct in which you're voting. You fill out your name and your address,
Uh-huh.
and you sign it. You then use an inner envelope and you put the ballot inside the inner envelope.
Uh-huh.
You seal it all and you send it in. When it's being counted, almost invariably in the United States, up until the mass cheating that went on in this election, a Republican and a Democrat inspector, as well as others.
Oh, wait, hold on. Wait. I'm sorry. This is from Charlie Kirk's Twitter. The evidence just laid out by Trump's legal team is overwhelming, except it's all gone thrown out of court. Where's the FBI? Guys, you know what would happen if the FBI investigated any of these fucking claims? The same thing that would happen with the fucking Erie, PA, post-ballot man, which is the FBI would investigate it, find out it's all bullshit, and then they would claim the FBI is corrupt. They already believe the FBI is corrupt. Why would they ever trust an outcome from the fucking FBI? We all know how this is going to go. The legal claims by the Trump administration are so weak, they can't even get, like, they're literally getting tossed out of court. They're not even being turned into court cases. Judges are looking at their court cases and going like, oh, wow, this is fucking worthless, and throwing them out. You really think the FBI is going to turn over a result? What Charlie Kirk wants is for the FBI to investigate it so the FBI can find no evidence of fraud, and then Charlie Kirk can go, see, even the FBI is in on it. There is no instance here, absolutely none, zero, where these people accept that Trump didn't win the election. It can't happen. If the FBI investigates it and they inevitably find there was no fraud, then the FBI is in on it. If fucking Jesus Christ came down from heaven and personally investigated every single ballot and found there was no fraud, they would choose Trump over Jesus. There was no end to this hole, okay? So, yeah, they can complain all they want. They're the one who keeps getting thrown out of court. So, maybe bring some better lawyers, buddy. Maybe not bring Rudy fucking Giuliani to be the head of your Trump legal team.
If there are other parties, is allowed to watch the unsealing of this ballot. Used to go on all over America when we conducted honest elections. Because the only time you can ever find out if it's a fraudulent ballot is when it is looked at. The minute you approve this, it's thrown away, gone for eternity. The only thing left is the vote. That could have been Mickey Mouse. That could have been a dead person. That could have been not filled out properly. That could have been the same person 30 times. That could have been, and all these things have happened, by the way.
Except you haven't proven them in court. So just a reminder to you guys, when they throw out the envelope, they still have the vote. And in the vote, they have your name and address. And then they can check your name and address against their logs. The vote is all they need to prevent fraud.
That could have been nothing filled out. We never know. So for
Vaush, that happened and they were caught and not counted? Yeah, of course. People send in fraudulent or like invalid votes all the time. They just get caught, so nothing comes of it.
For example, the recount being done in Georgia will tell us nothing, because these fraudulent ballots will just be counted again because they wouldn't supply the signatures to match the ballots. So it means nothing to have counted these ballots because, for example, in Pennsylvania, where we have probably our most precise evidence, 682,770 of these ballots were cast, put in, and they weren't inspected, which renders them ballots that are null and void, cannot be counted, have to be removed from the vote. Why? For several reasons, not the least of which is that was basically.
Oh, sorry, I forgot to say he's lying right now. I'm sorry, I completely forgot because I'm just astounded by how comfortable these people are with lying. Every time he says any factual claim about voter fraud, he's lying. If he was telling the truth, it would have been found in court. So anytime he makes any of these claims, the only response, anytime you're arguing with a Trump supporter and they're like, well, actually, if you take a look at the Georgian vote counting process, what you'll find is they just accepted these giant trucks full, they never even checked them. All you have to do is say, damn, that's so crazy. Why weren't they able to find it in court? Yeah, dude's a lawyer. What? Wow, that's amazing. Where's the evidence? Can do this forever.
Only one of two places in the state where it was done. So in the other parts of the state.
Hold on. You can skip the first Rudy part. The good part starts with the lady and when Rudy comes back. Do we want to? This goes on for a while here. We can actually skip because I know what he's going to do. He's going to list the exact same series of voter fraud claims that we've heard a million times before. Oh my fucking God. Jesus Christ. Wow. Never mind. Did he fight a fucking lich in between where we were at and where I just clicked? I'm sorry. I thought he was just going to be reciting alleged evidence of voter fraud. I didn't realize that he had engaged in a duel to the death with a fucking poltergeist. Jesus Christ. Is that like just a really bad frame? No, it's not. Oh, man. Oh, God, he's melting. The hair dye. It's the... Oh, my fucking God. It's all real. It's all real, and it's every frame. It's not just one bad frame. It's everything. Jesus Christ. Here he looks like he could be a Seinfeld character. And we're back at it. He's fucking melting. Here he looks normal. Here, we'll carry on from this frame.
That I think any jury would accept as they heard this evidence, that somebody had this plan. Maybe that was always the plan, to do this very, very questionable form of voting, which has been criticized by President Carter, by Secretary Baker, by most experts on election reform. I think the logical conclusion is this is a common plan, a common scheme. It comes right directly from the Democrat Party, and it comes from the candidate. Clearly. That's the reason why Hillary Clinton said, don't concede, even if you're losing. That's the reason we had a...
This means a lot to me. There's something that I always used to think about, you know? If you're like the president or the Secretary of State or some other like really important, powerful person, and you have to do press conferences, you have to speak to the public. You know what I do sometimes on stream? I clear my throat, I cough, I have to blow my nose, whatever. They never do any of that stuff. They have a makeup team that makes sure that for the duration of their press conference or whatever it is they're doing, they look presentable and they look, you know, put together. And what this suggests to me is that Rudy Giuliani he didn't go through the appropriate channels to get his makeup done, because there is no way on God's green earth that any competent fucking presidential administration makeup team would be putting on hair dye that would leak down your face with sweat. He's so sweaty. Did they not do makeup beforehand? It really does give me the impression that they just threw him out there, you know? Like they just roused him from his fucking crypt and then rolled him out there, you know? Like, I don't. Hey Vaush, look who's talking. Yeah, that's the difference between me and Rudy Giuliani. Okay, I'm not the president's lawyer. That's the and you know what? If I was streaming as the president's lawyer, I'd put some goddamn waterproof powder on my forehead, okay? That's the big difference there, okay? Listen, let me tell you, I could do it right now if I wanted to. I don't really care enough to. But if I was the president's lawyer, you can bet your ass that I would come out here with some goddamn waterproof makeup, okay? But Rudy Giuliani, man. Whew.
Freudian slip by the candidate. And he said he had the best voter fraud team in the country. That's the reason why he probably didn't have to go out and campaign. He had to have known what they were going to do. This had to be planned in advance. I'm kind of checking, did they go, you know, to the same contractor to get the corrals to put the Republicans in? And this is a disgraceful thing that was done in this country.
The best part is that the woman behind him is clearly just staring at what must be even more hair dye dripping down the back of his neck. Look at her face. She's looking directly at the back of his neck. That's the only thing that she's looking at. There's probably like a fucking river of sweaty grease fucking hair dye dripping down the back of his neck, and all she can do is stare at it.
Probably not much more disgraceful than the things these people did in office, which you didn't and don't bother to cover, and you conceal from the American people. But we let this happen. You know, we use largely a Venezuelan voting machine, in essence, to count our vote. We let this happen, we're going to become Venezuela. We cannot let this happen to us. We cannot not allow these crooks, because that's what they are, to steal an election from the American people. They elected Donald Trump. They didn't elect Joe Biden.
There were actually
Joe Biden
no
is in the lead
legal votes
because of
for
the
Joe
fraudulent
Biden.
ballots, the illegal ballots that were produced and that were allowed to be used after the election was over. Give us an opportunity to prove it in court, and we will.
Dude, you've lost 20 cases. You're like 1 to 22 in the courts. What do you mean, give us an opportunity? It's America. Anybody can file a lawsuit. You legally, it's 1 to 29 now? 1 to 29 now. Any American can file a lawsuit against any entity. It's fucking America, bro. What do you mean, give us the chance to prove it? You can just sue the government. You can do whatever you want. You just have to prove it afterwards. He's not saying give us a chance in court. What he's saying is give us a handicap in court. That's what he's actually asking here. He said, give us a chance in court. We can prove it. What he's actually saying is, don't make us prove it. Just let us win the case. Just let us do the case and then we win it.
Now I'm going to ask Sidney Powell to describe to you what we can describe about another totally outrageous situation. I don't think most Americans know that our ballots get calculated, many of them outside the United States, and are completely open to hacking, completely open to change. And
now they're concerned about foreign interference in our elections.
It's being done by a company that specializes in voter fraud. I'll let Sidney describe that to you.
Specializes in voter. What the fuck does that mean? What? Yeah, over here at Fraud Corp, we produce ballot counting machines the world over. Just send them over here to our fucking ballot counting facility in international waters.
Thank you, Rudy.
Oh God, Rudy, get off the stage.
What we are really dealing with here and uncovering more by the day is the massive influence of communist money through Venezuela, Cuba, and likely China in the interference with our elections here in the United States.
Wait. Okay, first of all, this is just the Russian interference narrative, except 3 times as deranged. Second of all, Cuba? You think Cuba has the fucking money? You think Cuba has the fucking money to interfere in American elections? What the fuck do you think? What the fuck do you think they're doing? They send somebody over in a fucking paddle boat to personally rob the fucking ballots of the Cuban expats in Miami or something? Same with Venezuela. I like how she said China last, because China is the only country even remotely capable of facilitating some kind of foreign interference operation.
The Dominion voting systems, the Smartmatic technology software, and the software that goes in other computerized voting systems here as well, not just Dominion, were created in Venezuela at the direction of Hugo Chavez to make sure he never lost an election after one constitutional referendum came out the way he did not want it to come out.
What?
We have one very strong witness who has explained how it all works. His affidavit is attached to the pleadings of Lynn Wood in the lawsuit he filed in Georgia. It is a stunning, detailed affidavit because he was with Hugo Chavez while he was being briefed on how it worked. He was with Hugo Chavez when he saw it operate to make sure the election came out his way. That was the express purpose for creating this software. He has seen it operate, and as soon as he saw the multiple states shut down the voting on the night of the election, he knew the same thing was happening here, that was what had gone on.
So your evidence is an affidavit from some expat who saw a vote count stop for a night and assumed it was the ghost of Chavez haunting. What? Is this QAnon? I don't even know. Is this like Time Cube? What is happening right now? I don't even fucking know. This is insane. So wait, just so I understand. So she is actually saying that the evidence she has that Venezuela has manufactured some kind of rigged vote counting machine and used it in America is that vote counting stopped in America and then one former Venezuelan said, hey, this is just like that one time? Do I have that more or less correct? That's basically what's happening right now. Okay. Wow.
Now, the software itself was created with so many variables and so many back doors that can be hooked up to the internet or a thumb drive stuck in it or whatever. But one of its most
Oh, hey, thank you for the Associated Press fact check. Claim Dominion Voting Systems, one of the most widely used election technology firms in the U.S., is owned by the company Smartmatic through an intermediary company called Indra. False. Both Dominion and Smartmatic have released statements saying no ownership relationship exists between the two competing firms. Indra Sistemas, a Spanish company, told the Associated Press in an email it has never developed any project or had a commercial, contractual, or corporate relationship with either firm. That's just what they want you to think. Obviously, that's exactly what a Hugo Chavez ghost-puppeted election fraud company would say. This proves nothing.
Characteristic features is its ability to flip votes. It can set and run an algorithm that probably ran all over the country to take a certain percentage of votes from President Trump and flip them to President Biden, which we might never have uncovered had the...
Wasn't this the plot of a movie? Wait, what was the movie where the guy made money by stealing the fraction of a cent of every bank transaction? What was the name of that movie? What was the name of that movie? Come on, guys. Office Space. Yeah. So, you see, what Hugo Chavez's ghost did is he stole the leftover fractions of the ballot votes from every county and transferred them over to Biden. Let's hear her say President Biden one more time. Freudian slip, or do you think she's a grifter and she's just saying whatever the fuck people want her to say while she privately knows that Joe Biden is the president-elect?
The vote from President Trump and flip them to President Biden, which we might never have uncovered had the votes for President Trump not been so overwhelming in so many of these states that it broke the algorithm that had been plugged into the system. And that's what caused them to have to shut down.
What?
The states they shut
Wait. We might never have discovered Hugo Chavez's voter algorithm were it not for the fact that so many based peds came out to vote for Trump. It actually broke the algorithm. Those vote fraud counting machines, they can account for maybe 98 or 99% of the vote going to one candidate. But as in most of America, 100% of the votes going to Trump, it broke their little computer brains. And that is how we knew that fraud was going on.
Down in. That's when they came in the back door with all the mail-in ballots, many of which they had actually fabricated. Some were on pristine paper with identically matching perfect circle dots for Mr. Biden. Others were shoved in batches. They're always put in a certain number of batches, and people would rerun the same batch. This corresponds to our statistical evidence that shows incredible spikes in the vote counts at particular times, and that corresponds to eyewitness testimony.
You mean those spikes being whenever they would submit mail-in ballot results in groups? Well, if you take a look at the Biden ballots, see how neatly they filled them out?
Of numerous people who have come forward and said they saw the ballots come in the back door at that time.
What?
Notably, the Dominion executives are nowhere to be found now. They are moving their offices overnight to different places. Their office in Toronto was shared with one of the Soros entities.
This is unironic QAnon shit. This is actual real QAnon shit. It's all coming together, people. Literal Soros posting. They had offices in Toronto shared with Soros Incorporated, but now they picked it up and fled. What the fuck is going on? This is insane. I can't believe this is real.
The leaders of the Dominion project overall is Lord Malloch Brown, Mr. Soros' #2 person in the UK, and part of his organization. There are ties of the Dominion leadership to the Clinton Foundation and to other known politicians in this country.
Say Epstein.
Just to give you a brief description of how this worked, I'm going to quote from a letter that was written, and I will read that to make sure I get the
Why does she sound like
quotes.
she's about to cry? Is she like, is this her like truth-telling moment? Is she out here? Is this her fight song? Something lights on?
Right. This person was objecting to the United States acquisition of Sequoia voting systems by Smartmatic, a foreign-owned company. I believe this transaction raises exactly the sort of foreign ownership issues that CFIUS is best positioned to examine for national security purposes. It's undisputed that Smartmatic is foreign-owned and it has acquired Sequoia. They keep changing the names as they go along. Different times when a problem comes up, they just create another corporation and call it a different name. But it was a voting machine company doing business in the United States. Sequoia voting machines were used to record over 125 million votes during the 2004 presidential election in the United States.
125 million?
Smartmatic now acknowledges that Antonio Mujica, a Venezuelan businessman, has controlling interest in Smartmatic, but the company has not revealed who all the Smartmatic owners are. According to the press, Smartmatic's owners...
This is an aside, but she does realize that Venezuelan businessmen were the people who opposed Maduro, right? Like, one of the reasons why Venezuela collapsed is because of internal conflict between the right-wing business sector and the government? Okay, nothing. Never mind.
...are hidden through a web of offshore private entities, and that is, in fact, true. Smartmatic has been associated with the Venezuelan government led by Hugo Chavez, which is openly hostile to the United States, and of course, as we all know, communistic and really brutalizing its own people.
He's dead.
The system has been continued there by Mr. Maduro and ensured his election. Smartmatic's possible connection to the Venezuelan government poses a potential national security concern in the context of its acquisition of Sequoia, because electronic voting machines are susceptible to tampering, and insiders are in the best position to engage in such tampering. This letter expresses concern of the Chicago 2006 primary election. And it ends by saying the products and services that are of Venezuelan origin and evaluate Smartmatic.
I'm sorry. I'm actually beside myself. Normally I have something funny to say, but this is actually the most deranged shit that I've ever seen come out of any this is beyond the pale. This actually easily and effortlessly destroys any insanity I've seen from Trump before. This is on an entire other level. This really does just feel like you're reading from a truther website that looks like it was designed in like 1992. Like, this is actually insane, like mental illness. But there are millions of people who are going to believe in this. I'm going to be arguing against people who believe in this for years to come. If SNL was going to make fun of how deranged and conspiratorial the Trump administration is, they would have come up with something less stupid than this. Yeah, this really reads like it's from a comic book. Like, okay, guys, here's the scene where we see how crazy the presidency is these days, and this is what we get. Except it's real.
Ownership to determine who could have influence and control over these and other Sequoia products and services are important to the national security of the United States. This letter was written to Hank Paulson on October 6, 2006.
Hank Paulson? That's the most deranged thing I've heard yet. You can't turn a first name into a last name just by ending it with son.
By Congresswoman Carolyn B. Maloney. Senators Klobuchar and Warren have raised these concerns as recently as December 2019. Why our government has not taken them seriously is beyond my comprehension, unless they have, some of the three-letter agencies have used them themselves.
That's literally how it works, you monkey. Yeah, okay, fucking John Johnson. Whoa, shit, wait.
themselves in other parts of the world. We know that the technology was exported to affect an election in Argentina. That's admitted by our friend who wrote the affidavit about Hugo Chavez and his interest in Smartmatic. Again, in 2006, Carolyn Maloney wrote the Honorable John Snow, the Secretary of the Treasury, about the issues. Speaking of
Is there anything metaphorically useful about the fact that it looks like she has a noose wrapped around her neck? Does this not fit a little bit? I feel like there's some meaning behind this.
Smartmatic's leadership, one of the Smartmatic patent holders, Eric Coomer, I believe his name is on the web as being recorded in a conversation with Antifa members saying that he had the election rigged for Mr. Biden, nothing to worry about here, and they were going to F Trump. His social media is filled with hatred for the president and for the United States of America.
Wait, they were gonna fuck Trump? That's not something people who dislike Trump do. They were gonna F Trump? Wait, does she actually mean F as in like press F to pay respects? Or does she mean F as in fuck? Are they gonna fag Trump? Is that... I'm not understanding the context here.
As a whole, as are the social media accounts of many other Smartmatic people. There has been widespread use of this. Dominion itself is utilized in 2,000 jurisdictions in 30 states. It has been uncertifiable in multiple states who realized all the problems that it had, including Texas. Experts have described it across the board, from a Princeton group of 3 professors to experts that we have talked to about its end user vulnerabilities. People can admittedly go in and change whatever they want. They can set the ratio of votes from one thing to another. They can say that a Biden vote counts as 1.25 and a Trump vote counts as 0.75.
It's the reverse electoral college. Wait, no, you can't do that. Is this a joke? Wait, you can make a vote. This is the future of the Republican Party in America, and the future of Republicans. They will make all your votes count as 3/5 votes, and we must get rid of Black History Month and make it White History Month, so we can learn of the plight the whites face, as all Republicans' votes are now worth 3/5, just like with the slaves, as we are now slaves to the Democratic plantation. Nothing bad ever happens to the Republicans. 3/5. Okay.
And those may be the numbers that were actually used here. It's not just the swing states that were affected. The algorithm was likely run across the country to affect the entire election. Like I said, we only discovered it this year because of the overwhelming number of votes for President Trump.
I really like the line she's being given here, where the only way they were able to detect this long-standing and systemic Democratic voter fraud is because the turnout for Trump was so insane that it revealed it with the statistical anomalies. Like, it's not enough for them to say they're only here to promote the integrity of the election. They have to come out here and say, like, the only way we're even aware of this is because Trump blew this election out so fucking hard. Like, they actually are incapable of, it's not modesty, what's the term? Like, just taking it and leaving it? They can't ever walk away with, like, a little bit. And that works for them because Republicans are so fucking stupid that they don't care. It doesn't matter. If this woman came up here and said that their findings showed there was not a single Biden vote, most Trump supporters would believe it. I believe that 100%. If she went up there and she said there was actually not a single vote for Joe Biden, not a single one in all of America, I bet you most Republicans would believe it. They would actually believe that, yeah. They would believe it. They would defend that for years. There's no relationship between reality and these people's brains. They're completely empty vessels.
Swing states that cause the machines to have to shut down for them to backfill for adding votes. We have evidence of different numbers of votes being injected into the system, the same identical, unique 6-digit number multiple times in at least 2 states that we've analyzed so far. And I'm talking about like 341,542 votes for Biden and 100,012 for Trump. There's no explanation, no logical explanation for the same numbers being injected 20 minutes apart into the machine.
What?
The software manual itself, you can download it from the internet, and I would encourage you all to read it because it specifically advertises some of these things as features of the system. Why it was ever allowed into this country is beyond my comprehension, and why nobody has dealt with it is absolutely appalling.
Probably because there's no problem with it.
The machines were easily accessible to hackers. There's a video on the net that will explain to you how a kid with a cell phone can hack one of these voting machines.
What?
There's been no oversight of Dominion or its software. Workers in each county were trained by Dominion, but there's no evidence of any monitoring otherwise. We have testimony of different workers admitting that they were trained how to dispose of Trump votes and add to Biden votes. The software has a feature pursuant to which you can drag and drop any number.
I have groundbreaking leaked evidence. I have a candid photo taken of your average Biden voter hacking one of these vote counting machines. Live. This happened. This was in Philadelphia. He hacked billions of votes, maybe. All of the blacks in Philadelphia, they had left the Democratic plantation. It was 100% voting for Trump. And then Mr. John over here came over with his bulky cell phone, and he turned them all into Biden votes. Billions of them.
Of batches
John
of
Johnson.
votes to the candidate of your choice, or simply throw them away. So we have mathematical evidence in a number of states of massive quantities of Trump votes being trashed. Just simply put
She
in the
got my
trash like
evidence.
you would on your computer with any file, and Biden votes being injected.
She got my
That's
tweet.
addition to the flipping. I mean, it really happens in two ways. There's an algorithm that runs that automatically flips all the votes, and then each operator has the ability to go in, override settings. They can ignore a signature. They can ignore the top line of the ballot. They can go down ballot and select who they want to change the results for. Mr. The gentleman who founded Smartmatic, there's video of him on the internet explaining that, yes, on at least one occasion, he admits they changed 1 million votes with no problem. Many of the
Dude, I would pay so much money to be in the courtrooms during any of the cases that have been filed by the Trump administration. I want to see how many times how many times they're like, Exhibit A, this tweet, and it's like a little printout of a tweet. Here you go, Your Honor. Little strip of paper. And here, Exhibit F, another tweet. Notice the patterns? Look up the name. Is it ethnic? What was the name she couldn't pronounce?
Jurisdiction, Smartmatic, there's video of him on the internet. The gentleman who founded Smartmatic.
That was 100% a foreign name. There was no... it was probably like some really fucking easy... CEO of Smartmatic? Was that who we're talking about? What's the name? Antonio Mujica? Or Mujica? Is it Mujica or Mujica? Does anyone know? Mujica? Okay, she couldn't pronounce that?
There's been for Mr. The gentleman who founded Smartmatic.
Wow. Jesus Christ. First of all, that means that she hasn't read this prior. Okay, I just want you guys to know how fucked it is that if you're giving a fucking press briefing, that you haven't even read the fucking script beforehand. Okay? That is insane. That is insane. She didn't even read this beforehand. She didn't check pronunciation or anything. Also, Mujica, this is not a difficult name to pronounce.
There's video of him on the internet explaining that, yes, on at least one occasion, he admits they changed 1 million votes with no problem. Many of the jurisdictions that have had this problem might not have known of the issues, but many did. And I think a full-scale criminal investigation needs to be undertaken immediately by the Department of Justice and by every state's equivalent.
Why? You're just going to cry about the outcomes. Anytime something doesn't go your way, you don't back off. You just say the corruption has made it there too.
General's office or state investigatory unit, because there's evidence of different benefits being provided to the people who spent $100 million of taxpayer money at the last minute for their state to get the Dominion voting systems put in time for this election in different ways. There's one person that a lawyer told me got, quote, election insurance.
Why is she crying? Because this is her fight. So she doesn't see the crowd, okay? She just sees the lights. After all the years of her saving up all this evidence, okay? Now, finally, she's coming out into the open, okay? This is her coming out of the closet, okay? You guys remember when you announced to your family that you were trans and they accepted you? This is what that feels like to her, okay? Maybe some of you don't know how that feels. Okay, look, whatever. Anyway, that's how she's feeling right now, okay?
Meaning that he would be able to make sure he was elected. I'm sure they explained that feature in detail to many people who expressed interest in putting this voting system in. Texas denied certification of the Dominion system in 2019, but there are no doubt issues with the software.
Trump
that Texas
audio
did
quality.
Use, unbeknownst to Texas, I would imagine, since they went to great trouble to examine the Dominion systems and reject them. But other software, the source code that does the...
This is honestly very distressing. Oh yeah, I'm not being hyperbolic when I say that if this country is to survive, people like this must never see power again. It's not a matter of like making the country better. It's if we want it to be possible to make the country better in the future, people like this can never see there is like basically no extent that I would consider, as long as like we're operating within legal bounds, because political violence is wrong. Literally everything must be done to keep these people from entering power again. They are unfathomably destructive to this country.
The alterations is embedded, we have been told, in the source code all across the country and all the voting machines. There's no doubt it has been used to alter elections in other countries. We know specifically that Venezuela exported it for that purpose to Argentina and other Latin American companies to make sure that the corrupt rulers who were willing to pay the highest price for being in office were allowed to rig their elections. This is stunning, heartbreaking.
How long has America been using this? Like, when was this company? Since 2004, and we're only just learning about it now? That's crazy. I wonder why Hillary Clinton didn't use it back in 2016 to win that election. Oh, maybe she did, but the Trump tidal wave was so great that she underestimated public support for him. And I wonder why all of this vote tampering didn't affect the fact that the Republicans gained seats in the House, or that Democrats didn't take the Senate, or that Democrats didn't get a single fucking state legislator, or any of that. That's super crazy, dude. Man, for an all-powerful vote-counting machine that's been around for 2 decades that nobody's noticed before now, and that has absolutely no evidence of misappropriative behavior, otherwise it would have been shown up in court by now. It sure is crazy how ineffective it is.
Infuriating, and the most unpatriotic acts I can even imagine for people in this country to have participated in any way, shape, or form. And I want the American public to know right now that we will not be intimidated. American patriots are fed up with the corruption from the local level to the highest level of our government, and we are going to take this country back. We are not going to be intimidated. We are not going to back down. We are going to clean this mess up now. President Trump won by a landslide. We are going to prove it. And we are going to reclaim the United States of America for the people who vote for freedom.
By a landslide. By the way, this is the behavior of the presidential administration that Crystal Ball says is completely not worrisome, and that liberals were wrong to be worried about it.
How come you're not suing in the Wisconsin counties that use it? Why are you only doing a recount?
And excuse me, that we're not out to the questions at this point. So excuse me, we're not at the questions at this point.
Don't interrupt our unhinged ranting, please, sir. We're not done spinning a narrative that makes no fucking sense. Hold on.
My name is Jenna Ellis, and I'm the senior legal advisor to the Trump campaign, and I'd like to just explain now where we've been and where we're at and what you can expect from this process.
Sure.
So what you have heard, I'm sure, in the fake newspapers tomorrow will be one of two things. Either there was not sufficient evidence that we've presented, or we spoke too long.
Oh, God, the 1.25 speed is a little bit much in this bitch and her fucking head bob. Jesus Christ.
Okay, so what you've heard now is basically an opening statement. This is what you can expect to see when we get to court to actually have a full trial on the merits, to actually show this evidence in court and prove...
This is an opening statement in court. Oh yeah, dude, you're gonna make it all the way over to court and the judge is gonna let you do all that for the first fucking hour. Court is now in session. Would you like to begin with your opening statement? Yes, I would. So as you all know, the Venezuelan vote counting company, which interned in the office of George Soros in Toronto, recently left after substantial evidence of This isn't a fucking open statement. It's a fucking manifesto, dude. That's not what an opening statement does or is.
Our case. This is not a Law and Order episode where everything is neatly wrapped up in 60 minutes.
What?
For those of you who are here in this room or have maybe tuned out in other networks, clearly you've never been court reporters. Trials take time.
What?
time putting on evidence.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Trials don't take time when the judge dismisses them. Hold on. Your evidence against that claim. Some of the fucking cases that you filed in court have lasted less time than the length of a fucking Law and Order episode, okay? Because the judge sees your dipshit ass fucking claim. They're like, nope, don't waste my time. This isn't Law and Order, guys. It doesn't take us 60 minutes to get thrown out of court. It takes us like 25 at most.
Time. This is basically an opening statement so the American people can understand what the networks.
She's QAnon. This is Sidney Powell. No, Sidney Powell was the first one, wasn't it? Yeah, that's Sidney Powell was the. Oh, get it? The Storm. The Storm. Yeah, it's QAnon. Author of License to Lie, Exposing Corruption, Conviction March, attorney, 500 plus federal appeals, counsel for General Flynn, Trump MAGA. And it's all voter fraud stuff. Yeah, of course, naturally. Good thing you don't determine the results of elections on Twitter, huh? Then they might actually be able to take this one.
Have been hiding and what they refuse to cover because all of your fake news headlines are dancing around the merits of this case and are trying to delegitimize what we are doing here.
Your fake news headlines keep reporting on the fact that we keep having our cases thrown out of court. If your news outlets were true and legitimate, you would only report on Twitter headlines, which is the only place where we're able to make convincing arguments.
Be very clear that our objective is to make sure to preserve and protect election integrity. President Trump has been saying from day one that this is about maintaining free and fair elections in this country.
Wait, but the lady who talked right before you just said the opposite. She just said Trump won in a landslide. We're going to prove it. Wait, you're part of the same legal team. So are you out here to preserve election integrity, or are you out here to secure a Trump victory?
It is not about overturning an outcome. It is about making sure that election integrity is preserved.
Literally 2 minutes ago, the other lady just said this was about overturning an outcome. She just said that. She literally just said that. She said Trump won in a landslide and we're going to prove it.
Preserved, and every American should want that. If every American is not on board with that, you have to ask yourself why. And if your fake news network is not covering this or allowing you to cover it fairly and accurately, you should ask yourself why.
But the news media, all the news has been covering for the past month has been the Trump campaign's meltdown. Like, they're not hiding it or anything. That's all they've been doing.
This is absolutely a legitimate legal basis. We have been asked to provide an entire case that generally would take years in civil litigation. I've been a prosecutor. I have tried cases with far simpler facts. One thing happened in a matter of minutes, and it still takes days. And we go through a jury process. This is the court of public opinion right now. We are not trying our case in the court.
No, it's not. You've put through like 30 lawsuits. It's not the court of public opinion. It's the court of courts. And you keep losing. Oh, from 11 minutes ago. Trump campaign withdraws federal lawsuits in Michigan. In a statement by Rudy Giuliani, the campaign said it was pulling out of the lawsuit. Giuliani claimed they had achieved the relief we sought to stop the election in Wayne County from being prematurely certified before residents can be assured every legal vote has been counted and every illegal vote has not been counted. However, local election officials voted to certify the results Tuesday night. This is like the equivalent of that Sailor Moon meme where the guy's like, I'm done here. And Sailor Moon says, you haven't done anything yet? Isn't this the lawsuit they were just referring to in this press conference? This is from 11 minutes ago. Wait, hello? Oh, there we go. How'd that go down? And this press conference ended an hour ago. So he literally did this press conference about how this is my fight song, and then an hour afterwards he withdrew from the case. So tell me, blonde lady, how exactly should the lamestream media cover this one? How? Tell me. How should the mainstream media cover this exactly? Is it fake news to report on this? Like, Windows will... Wait, what was that? Windows will show desktop if you shake Windows like that? Oh, I hate that.
Court of public opinion, because if we were, we would get unbiased jurors. I would strike 99% of you from the jury, and I would be allowed to because of the fake news coverage you provide. You are not unbiased jurors. And until you step out of your role as a journalist and actually go into a courtroom and you are a judge on a bench that has sworn an oath to be unbiased in our separation of powers, then your opinion does not matter. The fact
But you're not a judge. And all the judges keep saying no to all your cases. Wait, who gets to have an opinion on this? What? She just invalidated her own fucking opinion. The fuck does this mean?
facts matter, the truth matters. And if you are fair reporters, you will cover that fairly and appropriately, and you will allow coverage of our media team.
Oh, I remember this lady. I'm going on record now. If they try to cancel Christianity, if they try to force me to apologize or recant my faith, I will not bend, I will not waver, I will not break. On Christ, the solid rock I stand, I'm proud to be an American. Dude, fundamentalist Christianity is a mental illness. How fucking cancel Christianity? What is this, fucking Rome? How much of a persecution complex do you need to have to think that Biden, who's more of a devout fucking Christian than Trump ever would be, is going to cancel Christianity, dude? Dude, Donald Trump is like on his 15th wife. He had to use campaign funds to pay off the hookers that he was fucking. He's had books written by former wives talking about what a piece of shit he is. Joe Biden has had one partner and has been a devout fucking Catholic his entire life. Like, isn't Biden a Catholic? Catholics are Christian.
Team here and our legal team. That is absolutely shocking that all you cover are around the margins. And I've seen all of you taking pictures right now, and I can anticipate what your headlines are going to be. If you are not willing to talk about the evidence that has been presented, then that is absolutely unacceptable for journalistic standards.
You're at a fucking press conference. Oh, Biden's on his second wife. His first wife died. Listen, if your first wife dies, it doesn't count, okay? It's still the first wife. It's just first wife too, okay?
This is an opening statement. This is something where we have told you what the evidence will show, and we have given you a brief description. That happens in a courtroom all the time, where that's not the fact-finding process. That is just an overview. That is what we have given you today because the American people deserve to know what we have uncovered in the last couple of weeks. Remember, this is such a short time frame. And this is an elite strike force team that is working on behalf of the president and the campaign to make sure that our Constitution is protected. We are a nation of rules, not a nation of rulers. There is not someone that just gets to pick who the next president is outside the will of the American people. And that is our task.
They say as they attempt to use the courts to overturn the fucking popular vote.
Because when we talk about voter fraud, it's actually election official fraud. That cannot stand. The Constitution requires that the state legislatures are the ones that make election law. It still has to go by the U.S. Constitution. But what has happened in this case is that state and local level officials, and all the way up, have changed the rules. That's what the Democrats do. If they don't like the rules, they change them. And they change them at the last minute. They manipulate them. They want to tear down our American system.
Except for all the court cases you guys have filed to change the rules at the last second because the rules as they were established and agreed upon ended up leading to a Biden victory. Yeah, the projection is insane. Again, like these people are I sometimes people catch me flack. These people, I really do think they're like subhuman when it comes to like their moral or ethical values. I don't know how much she believes in the shit that she says. It's impossible to know. But like, there's no relationship between the stuff she believes and the stuff that and like reality. There's no relationship, and it doesn't matter to me whether or not she's grifting. There's like the balance between grifting and like sincerity. It doesn't really matter. The fact of the matter is there are now going to be tens of millions of Americans who are going to believe in this shit, okay? I just, frankly, I don't know how autism is in the DSM-5 and being a Republican isn't. When it comes to like how divorced from reality you have to be, I genuinely don't understand how autism is considered a mental condition and being a Republican isn't, okay? I can think of like a dozen mental conditions that fall well below the threshold for fucking crazy you have to be an American Republican, okay? Easily, okay? I like bipolar. Yeah, there are tons of bipolar people I know who are way the fuck more sane than your average fucking Republican, okay? At least autism gives you like mild telepathy, you know? But like you have that, fuck it. I'll say, you know what? Frankly, just get rid of the DSM-5, okay? Because like all that shit that was a joke, okay? Get rid of the DSM-5 because this shit is obsolete, okay? Because clearly our understanding of mental illness is very heavily contextualized by what we consider socially acceptable, and I don't think it's socially acceptable to be Republican, okay? This shit is fucking insane. This shit is completely fucking insane.
Our founders were so brilliant that they anticipated this, that there would be corruption, there would be foreign influence, there would be attempts to manipulate the outcome of the election,
They're really going for the foreign
with
influence.
who they called our chief magistrate. I would encourage all of you to go home and actually read Alexander Hamilton's Federalist 68 and see what he described as an advocacy position to adopt and ratify the Electoral College and the process by which we select our president. We select our president through the Electoral College not because it disenfranchises voters, but because it is a security mechanism for exactly the type of corruption that we are in.
How the fuck is the Electoral College a security mechanism? What element of the Electoral College enhances election security?
Uncovering. And every American should be grateful and thankful that our founders had the foresight to put in those protections and provisions to make sure that your legitimate legal vote
It protects us from black votes.
not disenfranchised. That is what we are advocating for. We want to make sure to protect election integrity, and your president, President Trump, we are so proud that he is in this fight because he understands that when he swore his oath of office, he swore an oath to uphold and defend the United States Constitution. That is what he is doing. And that is what we are doing. We are confident that through this multiple pathway to victory, we will get to the actual
Fucking Rudy Giuliani toweling himself off in the corner.
outcome that the evidence shows. But this is not about overturning an election on our part. It's about making sure that we protect and preserve free and fair.
The last lady, the lady who's ominously standing behind you, like a fucking JoJo stand waiting to strike, just said that they know Trump won and they're looking to bring about that result.
Elections for all future American elections. If the United States caves to corruption or this type of election integrity disaster, then no election will be secure from here on out. And we all need to be keenly aware of that. We are the representatives here that are standing in this gap and defending President Trump and defending you, the American people, at the end of the day. This is ultimately about the United States of America. And we want to make sure to protect and defend that. And as my colleagues have said, we will not back down. We won't be intimidated. President Trump will not be intimidated. You, the American people, should not be intimidated. You, the press, should cover this fairly and should know that this matters to election integrity and it matters to the future of our nation.
What do you think? What do you think the odds are? By fairly, she means don't cover all the court cases we've lost.
So we have given you an overview, but recognize this is not a court of law. We will get there, and we have time, and we have constitutional provisions that will step in when we show the corruption and the irredeemably challenged and overturned votes that are absolutely corrupt in all of these counties. It is irredeemably compromised. We will show that, but you have to give us that opportunity. This has been just our opening statement, and we have an opportunity to get there, and we have time, and we will do that. This is the United States of America, and we stand proudly for President Donald J. Trump. Thank you.
One more point.
The world is watching this. I have gotten multiple emails from people in other countries who watched the same pattern happen there. We have witnessed testimony that the same things were done in those countries as this was exported from Venezuela and...
Wait, you have witnessed testimony that there's election fraud in other countries. Damn, dude. I hope our courts are willing to accept that. I got an email from a guy in fucking Belarus who said there was election fraud here. Oh, shit. We got him now.
By Maduro and by Mr. Chavez and by Cuba. And of course, we know China also has a substantial presence in Venezuela and substantial interest in making sure that President Trump does not continue in office. This is the consummate foreign interference in our election in the most criminal way you can possibly imagine. It must be shut down. We know, for example, that one of the Dominion's highest level employees or officers went to Detroit himself to man the Detroit Operations Center, where he could watch the votes coming in real time and decide what file folder in the system to put those votes into. That's why you see massive spikes after hours when people were told that all the votes were in and all the votes were counted. Many Dominion employees have already reached out to us to tell us the truth. They are Americans who want to ensure election integrity like we do. I would encourage every Dominion or Smartmatic employee who is fed up with the corruption in this country to come forward as soon as possible, because these are serious federal offenses that I am confident the Department of Justice will be in pursuit of in very short order if they are not already.
All right. A few questions?
Yeah, Mayor Giuliani.
Oh, yes, the questions. Yes, please.
Sort of reminds us, 30 years ago, they had federal judges.
What? No fucking way. No fucking way. They gave him a towel and he still has it dripping down both Oh my fucking God, dude. They gave him a fucking towel. And he's still... Okay.
Just doing consent decrees over elections, so you got a federal judge overseeing the election. This is old Chicago days. Will you be asking that in Georgia?
No way. He missed both. He doesn't know.
U.S. District Court judges and federal authorities monitoring the elections.
I can't say what's going to be done about.
In Montgomery County, we have sort of a Operation Gray
I'm
Lord.
sorry. In what county?
County, Pennsylvania.
Yes.
Atlanta, there's sort of an Operation Gray Lord.
Mhm.
I don't know if you were
Yep.
informed of that.
I know about it. I really can't give you an opinion on that. I think, obviously, every election official should learn something from this and be very, very careful with the next election. I know this is a lot of information that we've given you, probably because we're frustrated with what we keep reading and hearing in the censored press, which is that we have no evidence, we have no specifics,
It's dripping.
we have no backup of what we're saying, and you largely ignore the affidavits that are filed.
Affidavits aren't evidence.
Whether you agree or disagree with an affidavit, it's evidence. You can't.
No. Not for election fraud. No, it's fucking not, dude. You've been taking affidavits from people. There have literally been affidavits recorded where people have said that, like, a person in the voter counting room had a Black Lives Matter shirt on, or an affidavit saying that one of the poll workers was rude to them, okay? Affidavits are not inherently worthwhile fucking evidence. Affidavits can lead to evidence, but they're not fucking under oath. An affidavit's not under oath. An affidavit is just a promise that you'll testify X if put in front of a courtroom. But even if you'll testify that a fucking poll worker was mean to you, that's not evidence of voter fraud.
I mean, you're just lying to the American people when you say there's no evidence. Sydney was giving you information that come from affidavits from other people that are given under oath. I was explaining things to you.
No. Isn't he supposed to be a lawyer? Wait, am I wrong? Hold on. Are affidavits... Wait, can you perjure? Can you... with an affidavit? You can once they go to court. Yeah, you can once they go to court, but not when you've just signed it. Not if you've just signed it with the Republican Party. You can perjure with an affidavit. A private entity can bring legal action. So it's not a criminal offense, it's a civil offense. Let me see. The Republicans or OAN or whoever would have to take them to court over an affidavit. Okay, I understand. It's a breach. Okay, it's a breach of contract. Okay, that makes sense to me. Yeah, an affidavit is a breach of contract if you lie in it or if you don't adhere to the evidence within. And if it's submitted to a court, then it becomes information provided under oath, at which point lying on it becomes a criminal offense and you can perjure yourself with it. Okay, yeah, these haven't been submitted to courts. This isn't a matter of perjury either. Also, can you imagine? You know, it'd be funny as fuck. Can you imagine? Oh God, imagine it. Can you imagine if all of these crazy-ass Republicans file all these crazy-ass affidavits and then they realize that they can actually be held legally accountable for the information within them, and then they change the affidavits or they back off, and then the Republican Party starts suing all the fucking random-ass Republican voters who file the affidavits being like, we trusted you! You had the evidence! You've backed out! Oh, God, that would be so fucking funny, dude.
You from affidavits that come from other people, American citizens, who swear under oath that they saw 100,000 ballots come in and that they were all for Joe Biden. And that, I should point out now that Sydney has spoken, that those happened just around the time that the Dominion or Smartmatic people called a halt to the election. And then you can also trace it.
Wait. The Smartmatic people called the election? What?
With a very big spike in the vote count at exactly that time. Right up. So what we're telling you is supported by evidence. And we're going to have to present these because of the procedures that exist according to the different voting laws of the different states. For example, you asked us about Wisconsin. We have to first create a contest in Wisconsin before we can move to bringing a fulsome federal lawsuit. The contest, from everything I can see, is going to overturn the vote because it's going to show somewhere around 100,000 illegal ballots in 2 counties that Biden carried by 75, 80%. And you know how close Wisconsin is. And what I'm talking about is the absentee ballots for which there were no applications. And that's not just a small matter. The reason for the application and the reason to keep all these things together is precisely to avoid what the Democrats did in this election, which is to misuse the absentee ballot process and the mail-in ballot process in order to cheat. So they really cheated in 2 respects. They cheated with the machines. Instead of asking me, are we going to bring a lawsuit in Wisconsin, which we will if we have to, you should have asked me, and you should be more astounded by the fact that our votes are counted in Germany and in Spain by a company owned by affiliates of Chavez and Maduro. Did you ever believe that was true? Did any of you here believe that that was possible? Of course it's not. Of course it shouldn't be possible.
Did I miss it? Did I miss the evidence?
I don't know if we're going to have time to develop all that in time to fill the requirements of all these cases. We have enough evidence without that to overturn this election. We have it from the affidavits of American citizens. But that's a matter of national security that we're talking about now.
Dude, you can't overturn. So, by the way, I love the fact that that one woman said their goal isn't to overturn the election, but the First Lady and Rudy Giuliani are both very clear that their goal is absolutely to overturn the American election. And additionally, no, affidavits are not enough to overturn the results of an election.
Matter of national security. Please don't make light of it. And don't act like you knew it. Don't act like it isn't a surprise. If that's not a headline tomorrow, then you don't know what a headline is. There isn't a single person in this country that would have believed that we have states that are stupid enough to have our vote sent out of this country. You couldn't possibly believe that the company counting our vote, with control over our vote, is owned by 2 Venezuelans who were allies of Chavez, are present allies of Maduro, with a company.
What about Castro?
Whose chairman is a close associate and business partner of George Soros. The biggest donor to the Democrat Party, the biggest donor to Antifa, and the biggest donor to Black Lives Matter.
The Antifa thing, too. Oh, my God. We have the Antifa thing, too. Amazing. Oh, my God, dude. It's the whole thing. I keep saying this, people. There is no such thing. All the crazy Republican conspiracy theorists that I've argued with are in line with the Republican Party. Whenever I bring somebody on, they're like, yeah, Antifa is being funded by Soros, the Jews. This isn't like some crazy, aberrant behavior. This is just Republicanism now. This is just the Republican Party now.
Yes. What do we have to do to get you to give our people the truth?
Is it safe to call Soros conspiracism to be neo-Nazi rhetoric? Yeah, but I mean, Rudy Giuliani has a special relationship. Rudy Giuliani, who I think is a Catholic, has said he's more of a Jew than Soros, a Holocaust survivor. So I'm pretty sure Rudy Giuliani has a special relationship with George Soros anyway.
Yes.
Thank you, Giuliani. My name is Liz Willis with RSBN.
No, that's completely true. Look, wasn't it more of a Jew? Yeah, here we go. Rudy Giuliani says he's more of a Jew than George Soros. Wait, I thought I got a New York Times account. God damn it. Well, whatever. Yeah, that's the gist of it. Was it a WAPO account I got? Here we go. Yeah, there you go. So he's got a special relationship, you know?
Some on this legal team have mentioned before that people close to the Trump campaign are pressuring them to drop the investigation into Dominion. Can you go further into detail and tell us specifically who those people are? Also, if it's possible...
How do we unnormalize the conspiracism and shit? Conduct a material analysis, friend. Where is all the Republican conspiracism coming from? It's coming from very well-paid, incredibly powerful Republican actors. These people need to be disbarred, disavowed, removed from power, and silenced as aggressively as possible. They are enemies to free speech and to democracy. Like, they have to be made no longer capable of influencing people's perspectives.
Well, can you tell us if they work with some of our powerful defense groups in the United States, such as the CIA?
And the last part was, do they work
With defense groups.
with defense groups and the CIA? First, I'm in charge of this investigation.
That sounds a little gulaggy, Vaush. No, not at all. This is just the tolerance paradox. Tell me, if you're a fan of democracy and your goal is to preserve democracy, do you allow the anti-democratic party to run? The answer is no, because if they ever win, you lose it. You don't get bonus points for being a pro-democrat individual and letting the anti-democrats run. Like, you don't get bonus democracy points. Yes, because I love free speech, they take away the free speech. This isn't a matter of political puritanism versus compromise. It's a matter of whether or not you actually care about preserving these institutions or if you just have a fetish for being logically consistent. My logical consistency is this. I like democracy and I like free speech. So when fascist autocrats end up trying to take power within our government and they come dangerously close, I'm perfectly okay being intolerant of those people. Why would I not be? How do we quantify who gets to run and who doesn't, Vaush? It's not a matter of who gets to run and who doesn't. It's a matter of solidifying and codifying laws that prevent people like this from entering power. Do you have any idea how much the American legal and presidential system relies upon gentlemen's agreements? What happens if an ungentlemanly person runs? Well, then we get this situation, don't we? With Donald Trump lying, boldly empowering media organizations that promote untruth and propaganda, firing fuck tons of people on his way out, doing incredible damage to our democratic infrastructure, convincing tens of millions of people that this election was stolen. The issue is gentlemen's agreements don't actually work when you're dealing with fascists. You need to solidify democracy. You need to preserve democracy. You need to preserve free speech. What do you say to the best way to combat hate speech is more speech argument? That works great until they put you in a camp. You think that would work with Trump in a second term? You think that the best way to combat Adolf Hitler is with more speech? Well, okay, good luck with that. No, obviously not. All politics is power. People forget that. Well, Democrats forget that. Republicans don't forget that. Republicans know this. Republicans don't give a fuck about life or ethics or morals or anything like that. They care about power, which is great for them. It works phenomenally in their favor. That's the reason why they have more institutional power than the Democrats, in spite of the fact that there are literally 10 million more registered Democrats than Republicans. Isn't that crazy? They're just so much better at it. It's all about power. And at the end of the day, I want the power in this country and in the world to be solidified around institutions which preserve things like democracy and free speech. And you can't do that if your systems are weak enough to allow autocrats to slip their way in. So something has to be done about that. And we can do it legally, we can do it fairly, we can do it institutionally. But we already have systems for this. Folks, right now, could somebody run on a pro-murder ticket? Is that possible? I guess it's possible, but it wouldn't do much. I mean, it wouldn't lead anywhere. Trump did. You know what I mean by pro-murder ticket. I really mean pro-murder ticket. It's possible, I guess, hypothetically, but you wouldn't go very far with it. And the reason for that is because right now we have very strong institutions that systemically delegitimize murder. At least murder in the direct one-on-one way, and not murder in the let people die of starvation because you refuse to give them a social welfare state kind of way. But we don't really have any good institutions to prevent autocracy or fascism or open, blatant propagandizing. And these are things we need to shore up if we want democracy to survive. This isn't just a matter of, like, sticking it to the fascists. This is for their benefit. Do you think Republicans would really be better off in a second Trump presidency? Do you sincerely believe this is a matter of us versus them? This isn't a matter of one group of people in this country against another group of people in this country. This is everyone in this country against a very small and very specific group of autocratic elites. And those people are taking advantage of weaknesses within our system that they allow to exist. Anyway.
Sydney and the people that you see here, there's been no pressure to stop investigating Dominion. In fact, there's pressure to go as fast as we can. I mean, I think there was uniform shock when we first heard it. I think when I first heard it, I didn't believe it until Sydney showed me the documents. And in fact, I feel kind of stupid, and you all should, because all you had to do is go online and find out that Smartmatic is owned by Venezuelans close to Chavez. You can Google it. Well, unless they take it down. I preserved it, so you can find it. Not, you know, and by the way, the Coomer character, who is close to Antifa, took off all of his social media. But we kept it. We've got it. The man is a vicious, vicious man. He wrote horrible things about the president. He is completely biased. He's completely warped. And he specifically says that they're going to fix this election. I don't know what you need to wake you up to do your job and inform the American people, whether you like it or not, of the things they need to know. This is real. It is not made up. It is not. There's nobody here that engages in fantasies. I've tried 100 cases. I prosecuted some of the most dangerous criminals in the world. I know crimes. I can smell them. You don't have to smell this one. I can prove it to you 18 different ways.
Okay.
I can prove to you that he won Pennsylvania by 300,000 votes. I can prove to you that he won Michigan by probably 50,000 votes.
They can prove to you over Twitter, not in the courts, though. If you could prove it, why is it not shown up in the courts?
When I went to bed on election night, he was ahead in all those states, every single one of those states. How is it they all turned around? Every single...
See, this is how you know there is absolutely nothing substantive to his arguments. He's like, I have proof these states actually went to Trump. And then he persistently demonstrates the fact that he is incapable of understanding how mail-in ballots are counted. He repeats the same shit over and over and over again, okay? Like he wants you to believe he has some sort of secret knowledge that he could prove if he was only given the chance to in court. But then he's like, listen, I can prove to you that a perpetual motion machine exists, okay? If I could just be given the chance, okay? Okay? If I could just be given the chance. What they don't want you to know is, do you know what happens when you put a slinky at the top of stairs? It slinks down forever. But they don't want you to know that. It's like he's acting as though he has like some secret information. But then when he talks a little bit longer, he proves that he has no fucking idea what he's talking about.
One of them turned around. Or is it more consistent that there was a plan to turn him around? And since there are witnesses who say there was a plan to turn him around,
witnesses,
and it kind of begs credulity to say that it all happened in every single state. My goodness, this is how you win cases in a courtroom.
Really? Wait, is that how you win cases in a courtroom? Damn, dude, you should apply some of that sage knowledge to your court cases and instead of withdrawing them. That's amazing. Ooh. That's really good.
Sir, is that your goal here to structure?
Oh, he finally got it.
Battleground states to block or delay certification so the GOP can pick their own electors. Is that the end game here?
Got dye in mouth.
Our goal here is to go around the iron curtain of censorship. That what publication are you with?
What censorship? Oh wait, what'd they say?
That what publication are you with?
CNN.
It's to go.
I like how all of them act like CNN is some sort of crazy partisan news network when it's the most banal corporate news network, like on the face of the earth. CNN has this massive fucking media apparatus, and with it, it does nothing to meaningfully improve the state of this country.
Around the outrageous iron curtain of censorship and get facts to the American people.
What censorship?
That if you were a fair and honest network, you'd have been reporting for the last 2 weeks. These are facts.
They've been reporting
These are
on all
things
of
that
it.
actually happened.
It's
These
just
people
wrong.
really wrote these affidavits. These affidavits are really part of the public record. You're concealing them. You're covering them up. And our role here is to do your job because you don't do it. Chanel?
I don't understand why these journalists are entertaining this shit. Why don't they just raise their hands and say, if you have so much evidence, why have you been thrown out of court 30 times? Like, why do they even entertain this dog shit? Like, at all?
As well. Where is our FBI? And have they expressed any interest whatsoever in looking into allegations of voter fraud and election fraud that you have pointed out in these 6 cases?
Come on, you have to have a little humor.
We have witnesses who have actually reported.
Where are you, FBI?
And nothing's happened as a result of it.
I don't know
That's
where
crazy.
the FBI has been for the last 3 years. I have no idea where the FBI has been for the last 4 years. Explain to me how the FBI concealed a memo in the hand of Brennan to Obama saying that Hillary basically made up the Russian collusion plot.
This is the Obamagate thing. Except the Russian collusion plot actually turned out to be completely true. We're getting multiple conspiracy theories wrapped up in one another. But the Russian collusion thing was like, or not the collusion thing, I'm sorry, Russiagate. The Russian election interference thing, that ended up being completely true. The evidence that the Russian government paid actors to disseminate false information to Americans, that ended up being completely true. Yeah, like 100%. Even by a bipartisan senatorial committee. He's talking about the Steele dossier, though. The main issue that I have with like dealing with Republican conspiracies is that they have so many of them and they're all proven wrong that there's no fucking point. If we're talking about the Steele dossier thing, then they reported on it because it was a dossier from an agent who had some degree of reputability, but I don't know like what that has to do with conspiracy. If we're talking about Obamagate, why were no fucking indictments made and the person who investigated ended up resigning because they weren't like it's like a million fucking stupid conspiracies that all overlap.
They withheld that for 4 years.
Kyle Klinsky says Russiagate's fake news thoughts. Well, by Russiagate, does he mean Russian collusion with Trump's government, or do they mean Russia's attempts to interfere with the election, or what? What are we even talking about? I don't even fucking know anymore.
And cost our country $40 million and 2 impeachment, one attempted, one actual, and then an acquittal proceeding. I don't know where they've been. I don't know where they were on the hard drive. They got it 10 months ago. There are clear crimes revealed on it. Didn't do anything with that. I don't know where they are now. Our country has had its ballots counted, calculated, and manipulated in a foreign country with a company controlled by friends of an enemy of the United States. What do we have to do to get the FBI to wake up? Maybe we need a new agency to protect us. I have no idea.
If I may speak.
Trump said they won. We withdrew the court case because we won. That's how it works. That's the winning move right there. It's when you withdraw from the court case you filed. That's the winning move right there. That's some big I'm not fired, I quit shit right there.
For just a minute. In terms of the level of corruption we are looking at here, we have no idea how many Republican or Democratic candidates in any state across the country paid to have the system rigged to work for them. These people didn't do this just to take control.
Wait, if you have no idea, then how can you allege there was any fraud? Wait, I thought the whole point of this entire thing was that you had evidence that there was tampering going on. Now you're saying you don't have any evidence that anyone did any tampering?
Make one heck of a lot of money off of it. Think about the global interests behind your own news organizations. Think about the pressure being brought to bear from the social media companies to shut down free speech on any challenge to the election. This is a massive, well-funded, coordinated effort to deprive we the people of the United States.
A massive, well-funded, well-coordinated effort for which I have no evidence and don't know the extent of
our most fundamental right under the Constitution to preserve this republic that we all cherish. It is of the greatest concern. It is the 1775 of our generation and beyond.
What?
Sydney, speaking
yes.
of our votes being held and processed, tabulated overseas, there's reports that there was a piece of hardware, possibly a server, picked up in Germany. Is that true, and is it related to this?
That is true.
Civil War
it is
signaling.
somehow related to this, but I do not know whether good guys got it or bad guys got it.
Good guys or bad guys? I'm a lawyer.
I can only hear one person at the time. I'm going to take the one with the hands raised.
I'm with Just the News.
Yes.
So question for you, Sydney. First, on the issue of the machines, do you plan to have, are you seeking a court order to either seize or subpoena or just to gain access to any of these machines in any of these contested districts? Have you begun that process? And when can we expect a timeline on that? And then for you, Mr. Mayor, you mentioned in Wisconsin and in Michigan these issues of overvoting. Where can we learn more about this? You're saying 150, 200%?
Up to 350% in some places.
Where would we get access to that data? And then to what extent were...
Oh, speaking of, there are people in chat who keep making JQ comments. This is nice. A Trump speechwriter who was sacked in 2018 for meeting with white nationalists has been rehired to oversee U.S. Holocaust memorials. Damn. That's straight out of a Onion article, huh? That's cool. Former speechwriter for Trump, previously fired for attending a meeting of white nationalists, has been given a new role to help oversee memorials commemorating the Holocaust genocide. There we go. Board member of the Commission for the Preservation of America's Heritage Abroad. The SPLC in Brimlow said that Brimlow regularly publishes works by white supremacists, anti-Semites, and others on the radical right. Damn, dude. Yeah, some Always Sunny shit. Or It's Always Sunny shit.
For those people who showed up to vote in person, because in Michigan, for example, they did allow same-day registration.
Yes, well, the same-day registration causes problems with the vote signature and the registration itself. That's a whole different system that makes it impossible, really, to validate the signature. I mean, one person could sign the same name. I could sign John Smith, I could sign K. Smith, I could sign, on both things and run 50 ballots that way. And we've got some evidence of...
Except then when they try to enter the ballots, there wouldn't be anyone by that name? What?
That being done as well. Rudy, do you want to speak to the other part of it?
Sure. We have now 3 overvote analyses done. 1 for Pennsylvania, 1 for Michigan, and 1 for Wisconsin. We're in the process, Georgia. We're in the process of doing the others. I'll check to see if it's appropriate for us to make it public.
Well,
I imagine it is, but you could actually do it.
Yeah.
You could do it yourself.
A lot of the analysis comes from the real-time data that came through to the news medias the night and following the election. And some entrepreneurs out there have started crunching data themselves, in addition to multiple experts who could easily recognize, with the mathematical brain that I do not have, the beyond explicable deviation.
International Men's Day, baby. Fuck women. Their tiny brains can't even do math. True.
To the point of mathematical impossibility that 186,000 votes come in at once, all for Joe Biden. That's like flipping a coin 186,000 times, and it lands on heads every time. That does not happen. Is
she really referring to the fucking decision desk update that ended up getting immediately retracted like 10 seconds later?
No reasonable explanation for the upshoots, the straight lines up. I'm not even talking about an angle. I'm talking about some massive straight lines up in the vote tallies in the middle of the night after they've supposedly stopped counting. And that's when the Dominion operators went in and injected votes and changed the whole system. And it affects votes around the country.
Hold on. I really, really, really want to know, Vaush, can this lady, Sidney Powell, ever be charged with a crime for the things she's doing and saying in this press conference? No, but she should. As far as I'm concerned, everything that the Trump administration is doing right now is treason. And I say that with full seriousness, not with like this, like when the people said, oh, Hillary Clinton should be hanged for Benghazi or some shit like that. I mean, this is a pretty deliberate effort to destroy the country. There's no good forward momentum for this country. As shit like this actually makes me think that like press briefings should be, you should be able to perjure yourself in them. I actually think that. I feel like you should be able to perjure yourself in press briefings, and the only time that can't happen is if you lie for, like, national security reasons. Like, if the president says, like, no, I don't have James Bond in Iran setting detonators on their nuclear production silos, and they cross their fingers behind their back, then maybe you can get a slip out for that, because you don't want Bond to get jumped on because the fucking, news network. But yeah, I at this point, I really do think that, like, stepping up here means that if you lie, you should be fucking arrested. Is there any reason that shouldn't happen? It would make them a lot more careful with the shit they say. I don't give a fuck that these people are just a legal team. I think they should all be arrested.
Around the world, and all kinds of massive interests of globalist dictators, corporations, You name it. Everybody's against us except President Trump and we the people of the United States of America.
You've spoken of unleashing the Kraken. Is the country ready for this? I mean, Americans should be astonished at what you're saying here today. Is the country on the verge of an electoral breakdown?
We've already had it. We have already had that electoral breakdown. But the Constitution, as Jenna explains, has provisions in it for how you fix this.
Unfortunately, treason as constitutionally defined doesn't meet these definitions. Hold on. Treason, Constitution. Give me that. Article 3, Section 3, Clause 1. Treason against the U.S. shall consist only in levying war against them or in adhering to their enemies, giving them aid and comfort. No person shall be convicted in treason of... Okay, yeah. I mean, I guess you could maybe make an argument that we're adhering to the enemies of America. I think fascists are the enemies of America. But obviously, constitutionally, that wouldn't fly. Sedition, then. Get them all up on sedition or perjury. Get them. Get them. Get them. Do you think these guys know it's a grift? Do you think they're true believers? Here's the thing. The farther to the right or left you go, I don't know if there's a difference. The more severe or radical your beliefs, I feel like the doublethink sets in, and you can simultaneously believe that you're lying while also believing sincerely in everything that you say, you know? I actually think that's completely true. Yeah, in that respect, that's an element where horseshoe theory is real. The more radical you become, I think the more likely it is that you can lie while believing your lies. Yeah. Who the fuck made this? This is great. If I looked this good in dresses in real life, then I'd wear them more often. They look comfy. This is sick as shit. Good color theory. Oh no, he's cute. Linky? Yeah, here. There you go.
And there should never be another election conducted in this country, I don't care if it's for local dog catcher, using a Dominion machine and Smartmatic software. We've got to have an American company that uses paper ballots that we can all verify so every one of us can see that our vote is our vote.
Why are you not requesting recounts in Wisconsin counties that use Dominion software? You're requesting recounts in 2 counties that don't use the software at all.
Because this case is not only about, remember, this case didn't begin with Dominion. This case began, and this case can be proven the old-fashioned way. It can be proven based on just good old-fashioned
Twitter posts.
Democratic tactics that go back to Mayor Daley in the 1960s, when he held the vote back in Chicago so that he could elect John F. Kennedy. Or as recently as last year, when they held the vote back in Palm Beach County and Broward County in order to see if they could steal that election for the Senate and governor, and then got caught manufacturing ballots. Democrats have been doing this for years on a small scale. When they passed the mail-in voter statute, which all of a sudden multiplied by 10 times the number of mail-in votes, they realized they could have a field day. They could do precisely what Jimmy Carter and Secretary Baker warned us about. All you have to do is own an election board, and you can get away with it. And unlike what Sydney is talking about, where you could have a paper trail, a paper ballot, I tried to point out to you, the minute that you separate the outer envelope from the ballot, you can no longer trace it, which is why the count, whatever the count in Georgia today is, it's totally ridiculous. They're counting the same fraudulent ballots one more time.
Yeah.
And we're still very close.
Mr. Mayor, so far, no single court has found evidence of fraud. That's got to be disappointing for you.
Historian here, what Rudy Giuliani just claimed about Chicago election being rigged for Kennedy is actually false. Rudy Giuliani lying?
President, how would you describe his mood at the moment? And do you and him still genuinely believe you can overturn this election, or is it about something bigger for you?
Hold on, I have to remove the cats. They're running around.
Let's go from the big picture to the smaller picture. The most important thing here is that this has been a massive attack on the integrity of the voting system in the greatest democracy on earth. The people who did this have committed one of the worst crimes that I've ever seen or observed. One of the things we're the most proud of in this country is that we've been such a long-standing democracy based on the right to vote. They have trashed the right to vote, they've dishonored the right to vote, they've destroyed the right to vote in their greed for power and money. And there's no doubt about it. This was not an individual idea of 10 or 12 Democrat bosses. This is a plan. You would have to be a fool not to realize that. They do the same thing in exactly the same way in 10 big Democrat-controlled, in most cases, crooked city. And when I say crooked city, go look at how many of their officials have gone to jail in the last 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 or 60 years that they have dominated and destroyed those cities. They picked the places where they could get away with it. They picked the places where, whether or not Republicans testified to something, judges would just dismiss it. because judges are appointed politically, and too many of them are hacks. They pick places where they could get a sheriff that refused to enforce a court order. When we got a court order that we could be 10 feet closer, our representatives were told, if you try to do it, I'll arrest you.
You're painting a portrait of a national conspiracy, suggesting that Joe Biden was actually part of that.
Part one.
Hold on. I've just received from a correspondent another irrefutable piece of evidence that voter fraud took place in the 2020 presidential election. This was taken in Chicago. I have word that these three were not the only ones. We have to do something about this.
Part one. It began as a national conspiracy. Clearly, that evidence emerged very, very quickly. The minute I saw that it was the same thing in 10 states, just using logic, I said this can't be an accident. And then what I was surprised about is the dimension of it. I mean, not inspecting almost 700,000 ballots is astounding.
If you're suggesting that Joe Biden was part of that conspiracy, I just wonder what your evidence is.
Honestly, I don't know what Joe Biden is aware of or not aware of. And I mean that as a lawyer, not trying to be cute. I've watched him, I've observed him. I honestly don't know how much he's aware. I don't know how much he decides and how much things are decided for him. So
Let me suggest one other thing to your question about the process. Your question is fundamentally flawed when you're asking where is the evidence. You clearly don't understand the
Jesus Christ! You're kidding me. Your process is fundamentally flawed when you ask where the evidence is. There is no better representation for their
process. Your question is fundamentally flawed when you're asking where is the evidence. You clearly don't understand the legal process. What we have asked for in the court is to not have the certification of false results. And so to say
you have to prove that there are false results. Evidence. The procuring of evidence is literally fucking step one. Well, I mean, obviously you give your opening statement, so it's not step one if you're in a court case, but it is basically step one. What do you mean? You need evidence that there are. When you ask us for evidence, you're really you're really missing the point. Okay, we don't need evidence. It's not the time for evidence. We don't need evidence. We're just asking to win the case.
Hold on a minute. We have evidence that we will present to the court. We haven't had the opportunity yet to present that to the court. We're giving.
Why not present it to us? Also, yes, you have. You've had court cases.
Giving you an overview and a preview of what we've discovered, but no court yet we've had that opportunity. So when we have we have fraud allegations pending. So what we've asked for are temporary restraining orders or injunctions to not certify false results. We're very happy that Michigan.
What are false results?
The reason we dismissed that lawsuit today is because the Michigan.
Okay, wait. So she's describing the Michigan lawsuit being abandoned. So this press conference took place after Rudy Giuliani backed out of that case. Okay.
County in Wayne County, they're not going to certify that because 71% of counties have inconsistent data. No person in this room or in this country should want states to rush through and coronate a president with.
Aren't they certifying it? Hold on. Wayne County. Didn't they try to like back out of it? Yeah, they already signed it. 2 Republican Wayne County canvassers have signed affidavits saying they regret their votes Tuesday to certify the November 3rd election, arguing that intense bullying and coercion plus bad legal advice forced them to agree to certify the election after they had voted no. So here's what happened, okay? These Wayne County canvassers, the Republicans, initially refused to certify the election, saying that they didn't trust the results out of, like, Detroit. Like black people, you know, like they're fine with the red, but it's just Detroit, you know? And then, but later they were pushed to certify it. And then it later comes out they were directly contacted by Donald Trump, who told them not to certify. I think I retweeted this. Where was this information? Or did I just like it? Why do I like things? Why don't I just bring them up? Hold on. God damn it. Wayne County, Donald Trump. Yeah, look at this shit. Fuck you. Donald Trump called Monica Palmer after Wayne County Board of Canvassers meeting. Donald Trump personally called some of the Republican canvassers. And they claim the Dems were the ones who bullied them. Anyway, the GOP canvassers tried to rescind their votes, but they weren't able to. As I understand it, Wayne County is now certified. They backed out of Michigan being like, we accomplished what we wanted here. They didn't certify. They did certify. So, another spectacular failure. When do we get to make fun of Republicans for all this? For the rest of your life, but it's never going to sink in for them. They don't know what fucking clowns they are.
False results. We have to make sure that the results are accurate.
Okay.
That's what we will prove.
Two more questions.
The Secretary of State says that can't actually happen, that those votes can't be rescinded, and that the certification in Michigan.
The mouth.
Secretary of State where?
In Michigan.
Yeah, well, there are problems in Michigan. Follow the money.
Follow the political party, man. I mean, you're actually seriously going to want me to take seriously the Secretary of State of Michigan? When the Secretary of State of Michigan never bothered to find out that the votes in her state were being counted in Germany by a Venezuelan company, and you want me to take her seriously or him?
You want me, Rudy Giuliani, a man of great integrity, to take seriously this woman?
Seriously? I mean, I was in government. If I were the governor of that state, I'd fire everybody that was involved in this election. They didn't come and tell me that my state was going to be embarrassed, made a fool of, because I'm sending my votes of people in Michigan over to Germany to be counted by a company that is owned by people who are allies of Maduro and Chavez. By the way, Carol...
Again, this was disproven before this press conference. I keep showing you the Associated Press link debunking this. Like, they know it's not true.
Maloney, who wrote that, is my congresswoman. A Democrat pointed that out. They didn't do the darndest bit of due diligence. If you bought a $10 million company, you would have done more due diligence than that. Maybe they're incompetent, or maybe they didn't want to know. But you're not going to have me take seriously anything that comes from anyone involved in the election the way it was conducted in Michigan.
But you guys are saying that those votes have been rescinded. They haven't. The Secretary of State there says that they can't be.
The Secretary of State can say whatever she wants to say. Of course she's going to say that. She's a Democrat. She could also credit the affidavits of the two people and say that the board is tied and therefore the vote hasn't been certified. So because she's a Democrat, she's saying that. Do you think she has any credibility, having run the kind of election they ran in Michigan? You think anyone in that government has credibility after using a machine and fooling their citizens? There can't be a person in Michigan who thought their vote was being sent outside the United States so somebody could play with it. I mean, it's disgraceful what the government of Michigan did to its citizens. Absolutely disgraceful.
Mr. Mayor,
Last question.
Mr. Mayor, you have alleged.
Just to go back to the servers, are you going to be able to get your hands on the voting machines or the servers, and are you going to be able to see what, when, where, how?
We're not, we are limited in what we can do. We're not the FBI. We're not the government. We don't have that kind of subpoena power. We don't have the power to just go subpoena anything we want. The government does. We would have to subpoena it in line with a case. Our first case, we're asking for that authority in Pennsylvania and in Michigan. But you have to get that authority from the court. We're private citizens. We're not the government. If I were the government, like I used to be, there'd probably be a lot of people arrested by now. Because there's plenty of probable cause. Plenty of probable cause.
Thank you, everybody.
No. We'll take...
You alleged that Donald Trump has won by a landslide. We've seen that a lot of your lawsuits and in fact lawyers have been kind of dropping like flies. What do you say to the people who call this a Russiagate 2.0 just on the other side? Why didn't this, and also why didn't this happen?
What fake network do you come from?
I don't have a fake network. In fact, I am completely independent, have no one above my head.
Like I said, people, sedition.
Oh my goodness. Well, first of all, our cases haven't been dismissed. We only have...
Over 20
Look at the plaintiffs who were involved in this.
It's not our case, ma'am. Don't lie to people.
I'm saying, what do you say to
Ma'am, you are lying.
I think that
You're lying. You're lying. Well, continue to lie. I'm not going to... Ma'am. Okay. Let me answer the question. The answer to the question is, we don't have a lot of lawsuits. We only have 3. Our lawsuits have not been dropped all over the place. We
Let's get the official tally, okay? Can I get a link to the official tally of lawsuits that have been made so far by the Trump administration? Yeah, it's 1 to 29, but can I get an official source for that? Here? That's a YouTube video, my friend. Is this it? Here are all the lawsuits Trump has filed since Election Day. 1, 2... I don't think this is a relatively old one, right? When was this up? No, updated November 18th. That's yesterday. Ah, yes, the famous Four Seasons coverage that I didn't go over. Yeah, 1 to 29. Here we go. There we go. Thank you, Newsweek. Trump campaign is 1 to 29 in post-election lawsuits after latest defeat. And this is from today. Nice. And the most recent defeat is, of course, the Michigan one that we've been looking at. So, yeah, I don't know.
Okay, well, you're a totally discourteous person. I'm going to finish my answer. So, I'm going to finish my answer. The fact is we have very, very few lawsuits. The lawsuits you're talking about have been brought by private individuals and groups. Most of them were dismissed for lack of standing. Probably correctly, because they were brought before the election took place. The election is now over. The only lawsuit we have withdrawn...
Nope. The 1 to 29 is for elections, or for lawsuits that took place after the election from the Trump administration.
Is the one where we got the relief that we wanted, and that's the one in Michigan. We also have another lawsuit in Michigan that will accomplish the other objectives of what we want to do in Michigan. So it's silly to have two competing lawsuits.
The objectives that he wanted accomplished was a lack of certification for the Wayne County election results when they had already been certified.
The only lawyer that left a case left because he was threatened. His family was threatened. His children were threatened. And so was the other lawyer. Yeah, that's true.
That
we
sucks.
have a little difficulty getting lawyers because our lawyers get threatened with being killed. Because
yeah, dude, the big threat of fucking Biden Antifa terrorist violence. Yeah, dude, that's totally a real fucking thing. Oh yeah, Republicans quake in their fucking boots imagining all of the Biden-crats running up the K-Hive firebombing their offices. Jesus Christ. In contentious shit like this, I have no doubt that there are threats being made at lawyers and judges and all that shit. But if you actually think that the Democrats are anywhere fucking close to the wanton violence Republicans would threaten in this case if the situation was reversed, you are delusional. If this was reversed, then the fucking Democrats filing affidavits would probably be getting assassinated.
The ridiculous way in which you cover this, and the ridiculous way in which you cover... I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about everybody, but I get a pretty good sense from the way you handle yourself, how you cover it.
Man.
All right, we're finished with you now. One last question. One last question from a... One last question. One last question. One last question from a reasonable civil person. Yeah, you are not. Yes.
I'm not a reasonable person?
No, she isn't. Well, we'll find out.
I'm from the Daily Caller, for the record.
Oh, there we go.
If the courts don't let you present these cases like Dennis just said, will you give the entire bulk of the evidence to the media to review? And if so, when? Were you going to drag this thing out like the Hunter Biden hard drive again?
We're not going to drag it out. I mean, it's ridiculous for you to say we're dragging it out. Well, Al Gore had a lot more time than we've had, and we've had...
Yeah, because Al Gore had a credible Supreme Court case that didn't get dismissed offhand for lack of evidence.
2 weeks to investigate. So that's also completely unfair to say we're dragging it out. Also, if we're going to present things in court...
Also, Al Gore's election came down to like 500 votes in Florida. You lost by like 100,000, okay? In multiple states. You would have to flip multiple states for Trump to win, and not by margins that recounts will affect.
Present it to you. Judges are not going to be very happy with us. And finally, I have to tell you, our witnesses don't want to be exposed to the tender mercies of a vicious press. I have great difficulty getting those witnesses that I did reveal to allow me to do it. They don't trust you. They don't like you. They think you put their lives in jeopardy with the spin that you put on what's going on here and with the unfairness in which you cover it. It's not easy to reveal the things that they tell me.
Wait, is he saying right now that the Daily Caller isn't far right enough? Is that what I'm hearing right now? Is he saying the Daily Caller is too far left and too... Are you fucking kidding me? The Daily Call... Pretty soon, the like, unironically, the only news outlets that Republicans are going to trust are going to come from, like, fucking the Daily Showa. Yeah, pretty soon OAN is going to be commie shit to them, too. Yeah, Stormfront. No, Breitbart is going to be too far left for them soon.
The answer is no.
The answer is I can't do it because I can't put a witness's life in jeopardy or a person who thinks there's life in jeopardy. This woman tells me we have lawyers dropping out of the case. We have lawyers dropping out of the case because they're being threatened with destruction of their careers, destruction of their livelihood, and in some cases, destruction of their lives.
Whoa, hold, wait, hold on. So the first two things you said there were destruction of their careers and their livelihoods. That's fine. Lawyers for the Trump administration should be disbarred. You should never be able to serve again. Are you fucking kidding me? Yeah, that's fine. Wait, that's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that. None of you should ever be able to get a job again. I want to be able to go down to fucking McDonald's, okay? And I want to see fucking new guy Giuliani cleaning the toilets, okay? When I go in there, and the reason he's cleaning the toilets is because it's punishment, because the real toilet cleaner, the good, honest, hardworking proletarian toilet cleaner is literally giving him shit, okay? I want him to be the guy who fucking tongue scrapes the chewed gum off of the underside of the tables, okay? That's what I want. That's a good America, okay? I don't want this guy to ever have a real job again. I want him to be tongue scraper, all right? Now, that last bit there, the threatening their lives, yeah, fine, it's not good. But when you say it like that, it makes me think the only threats these guys are getting are from, like, legal teams saying, like, you're going to lose your job if you do this, mate.
That comes about because of the hysterical way in which...
Didn't you say we need to make janitorial roles honorable? Yes, and the best way to make janitorial roles honorable would be to not tongue scrape chewed gum off the underside of tables.
You have covered Donald Trump and his administration. But we're going to change all that. We're going to go to court. We're going to prove it in court. I would love to release all the information that I have. I would love to give it to you all. Except...
I would love to. Folks, I would love to. And the past 3 dozen... court cases, they weren't enough, okay? They weren't enough. I would love to give you all my evidence, but I can't. I'm sorry. It's in the other room. It goes to a different high school. I can't show you.
Most of you wouldn't cover it. A few of you would. And then we'd have half the American people probably informed. The censorship that's going on in this country right now by big tech and by big media is almost as dangerous as the election fraud that we're revealing. Maybe just as dangerous. We're headed to a very bad place. And it is not inappropriate that a Venezuelan company counted our votes. Thank you.
Which was disproven. Wow! So that was like the most unhinged shit I have ever seen from the gut. Wow. This must have been how sane people felt back during the McCarthy days. Just insane shit that a fuck ton of people took seriously. That is unbelievable. I can't believe it. This is actually so far beyond the pale. Yeah, no, this was objectively like the worst press conference I've seen in the entirety of the Trump administration. That is unbelievable. Sedition for all of them. Are you going to be covering the press conference about to start? What's the press conference that's about to start? What's the next one? Well, what's the next one? Is it Biden? Is it Trump COVID task force? Do we really need to go over a Trump COVID task force? What information is going to be shared there that we haven't already heard, you know? Yeah, again, like I love to keep in with it. I just don't think any information is going to come out that's going to be interesting to us. Trump is speaking. Give me the link. Oh, Guys, I'm a little bit quieter than I normally am because I've had a little bit of a cough lately, but if you're enjoying the stream, then you should subscribe to the channel. It would mean the world to me if you could. We're on pace, if we're very lucky, very good lucky boys, to hit 300,000 by the end of the month. And yeah, if you all subscribe, maybe you'll enjoy the content I make. I don't fucking know. Trump talking? That YouTube video is called Poo. Whitehouse.gov/live? That would be where they are. Yeah, here we go. He'll probably address the vaccine. He did that last time. But, okay, hold on. I'm gonna piss. I'll be right back. Look, if you all subscribe and we keep up a really good pace, maybe we can keep my sub count ahead of the US COVID death toll. Yo! What if it was all a dream, people? Hey, while we're waiting on this, I want to talk with you all, okay? The new lighting feels odd. I feel like I'm so red. I can tinker with it more. We're still learning. Red is good? Yeah. Gotcha, hyena. Folks, while we're waiting on this Trump press conference, I thought I could talk to you about something near and dear to my heart, okay? It's men! Because I like men, because I'm pansexual. No, it's International Men's Day, people. Men's Day? Yeah, International Men's Day. How nice is that? And I thought it might be nice to talk for a moment about men while we wait on Donald Trump. Some may call him the prime man, presently. Many people call him this. Many people say this. I thought it might be nice for us to talk about men. Because, folks, I don't think men are doing too hot right now. I think, you know what? I'm going to say it, okay? You know what's annoying? What's annoying is when you're talking about women's issues and somebody comes in and they say men got it bad too. Isn't that annoying? It's annoying. So let's not do it today. I want to talk about men's issues. And we don't give a fuck about women right now, okay? Not a single shit. We're just going to charge on ahead with men's issues. Contra talked about this. Wow, Contra made a video about this sometime in the past 2 years. Guess nobody can talk about the entire gender men again. Fuck you. Listen up. Men have, I think, a really, really, really difficult time of it right now. Folks, hypers in chat if you're a man and you feel lost and it's kind of like you don't know what to do with your masculinity. Give it a shot. The main issue is, I feel like there are a lot of... We've given women... By we, I don't mean men. I mean, like, societally. Women have ways they can express themselves, I think, that are a lot more freeing than what men can do. Let's take, for example, clothing, okay? Women, when it comes to clothing, women can wear basically literally everything. It's socially accepted in America and most parts of America for women to wear pretty much any article of clothing. I'm mostly talking about cis people here, but this also applies to trans people to a large extent. Women can wear, you know, a t-shirt and jeans or a suit, and they look great. And they can wear a dress, and they look great. And yeah, you know? But with men, there's like way stricter expectations for behavior and performance. And a lot of these really like hurt men. So I want to talk about that. Like, say, for example, being able to cry. Okay? Now, regardless of how you feel about crying in public or whatever, you know, regardless of what propensity you have for crying, and a lot of guys just don't cry that much, whatever. I don't cry very much at all. But if you want to cry, and it's a biological process that's ingrained into our psyche, so this isn't like some weird social thing. Humans cry. It's a thing we do. But if you want to cry, if you're a lady, you can get away with that pretty much no matter what. I mean, some people will give you shit, no denying it. But with men, like, there can be severe social consequences. Like, really, really severe social consequences for crying sometimes. And that sucks, you know? Like, I'm not saying everyone should be bawling their eyes out in public or whatever. Like, keep it the fuck together, you know? But, like, if you're watching a movie and you want to cry, what are movies for? Some movies make you want to cry. Some guys get, like, ashamed of that. That's the fucking point of the movie. What do you like, I feel like a lot of guys watch sad movies, and it's like an internal test they have to force themselves to not cry in a movie designed to make you cry or at least make you sad. You know what I mean? Like, they're testing themselves. Like, they treat those movies like dipping your hand into a bucket full of crabs and trying not to, like, pull it out as they get your little hands. You know what I mean? Like, it's like a test. You know what I mean? Which is really, really, really dumb. And I think... And this goes like in a million different ways too, and there are more institutional problems as well. Vaush, you talking from personal experience here? I don't watch movies that much. I think I cried a couple of times after watching End of Evangelion. It's a good movie. I mean, that's a movie, I guess. But anyway, it's an anime movie. But anyway, it's a good movie. Yeah, it's a good movie. Yeah. Anyway, there are more institutional elements here as well, like, for example, with a guy, it feels like, and this isn't as much the case in us progressive type circles, but in a lot of America, like, you'll get called a fag, like, at the drop of a hat through any expression of emotional sincerity. And it's really, really, really easy to have your masculinity questioned for doing things humans just do. Not just crying either, but like a lot of things. Like, and it boils down to a lot of institutional biases as well, like family courts, for example. Now, family courts these days aren't as biased as they used to be. They're actually a lot more even now, but historically, children were awarded more to women in a breakup because it was expected that women are better child rearers. And while the courts are evening out a little bit, are there any dads in chat? Do you ever notice if you take your kid to the park, people look at you kind of funny because you're an adult man with a little kid, especially if it's a daughter. But if a mom brings her kids to the park on her own, nobody bats an eye at all. That's a totally normal, completely ordinary thing. I've known dads or single dads who've gotten called, like, the cops on them because the caller assumed they were a predator. They were there with their fucking daughter. Like, that's really fucking weird, you know? Like, Jesus. And that boils down to the belief that men can't be good parents. So, like, if there's a guy around a kid, it must be some weird shit rather than, like, a dad-kid thing, you know? And schools. You know, there's a conservative talking point that, like, men aren't privileged because they don't do as good in schools. And there's kind of a half-truth to that. Not that they aren't privileged, they are, but there is a half-truth to the sincerity of school bias, because when you think about it, why do men tend to do worse in school? And they do. Boys do worse in school in America. Pretty much across the board these days. More women go to college. Why? Well, one of the big reasons is that school rewards a very specific type of behavior. Diligence and quiet and memorization. But a lot of men are taught that in order to be, like, masculine, you have to be boisterous, aggressive, domineering, and antagonistic. So we set guys up to fail because all these kids are being taught they're going to be little war generals, you know, and then they go to school and the system doesn't reward. The world, by the way, doesn't reward hyper domineering, aggressive behavior unless we're talking about the sociopathic, like, business class, you know? For the most part, the world rewards collaborative, cooperative behavior. These are usually the people who do better in life. Now, that doesn't mean there's anything wrong with schools. There is something very wrong with schools, but it might indicate that the relationship we have between how we teach people to behave and how they end up needing to behave in society is really fucked, you know? And I feel bad for the guys in this position because, again, like, with being a lady, I feel like you can do a lot. Now, again, I'm not saying women have it all easy, whatever, at all. But you can do a lot with regards to expression if you're a lady, and it's at least somewhat socially normalized in some spaces. You know what I mean? Mask or femme or domineering or submissive. There's usually, it's always preferred women are feminine in most social spaces. But then sometimes women get respected, even if it's in like a weird fetishy way, if they're more domineering or aggressive, and then they get considered one of the guys, and that's not like that good. But if they're more androgynous or like on the line, like there's some degree of acceptance here, I think. But if you're feminine as a guy, unless you're full fucking femboy, like legit people can't tell like how you identify, you can get like a lot of shit. I don't know, women get a lot of shit for being assertive. Didn't I literally open this segment by saying we're not going to talk about women's problems? Holy shit, there are so many people in chat being like, I don't know about this one, chief. Women have problems too. Shut the fuck up. We know. Every leftist space is perpetually dedicated to talking about issues of the patriarchy. Can we please chill and talk about the other half of the issues of the patriarchy? Okay? By the way, yeah, women do get shit talked for being domineering. Like if you're like a domineering woman in like a workplace, you do get shit for that. Show up in a dress as a man to a workplace, okay? You're gonna get fired in a lot of places. There's a really big, the severity of this dichotomy really varies depending on the social space. And I think that's because a lot of people, especially progressive guys, don't really know how to reconcile socially normalized good behavior with masculinity. Because masculinity, like traditional masculinity, is like lizard brain shit. You know what I mean? Like, you must be strong to conquer the society. You need to show no emotion. Like that shit. You know what I mean? It's like lizard brain shit. And there are elements of masculinity that I like, but there's the problem is that some people take this machismo shit way the fuck too far, or machismo, whatever, and it's like impossible to talk to these people. I said this before on stream, but like, you guys know, like in high school, there are some guys and they're really obsessed with being men. These motherfuckers are like suicide cases the moment they leave college, okay? People who define themselves by being hyper masculine, we don't live out in the fucking wilderness, okay? You're not gonna make it in life by like fighting bears. You make it in life by dealing with the banal reality of late stage capitalism, and you form the only way to survive late stage capitalism is to either get very lucky and be very wealthy and powerful, or to be socially competent enough to form relationships that make life worth living. That's it, okay? Those are like the two shots. If you have like some hyper specific talent or like a hobby or something like that, you can pursue that, but by God, you need relationships to temper yourself out because we're social creatures. And a lot of guys don't learn that, and they don't end up becoming super powerful, wealthy dudes so they can live on with their machismo fantasies for the rest of their lives. So they just fucking live in misery, okay? So how do you reconcile that? What about, like, sex, you know? Like, for a progressive dude. Okay, here's a common trope, all right? Here's a common trope. Who here has fucked a guy who you wish was more aggressive, but who was clearly holding back because he didn't want to come off rapey? I don't mean like with sexually like aggressive behavior in like the flirting stage. I mean during sex. Like during sex, they felt awkward because they were clearly, you know, being like temperamental with it. Some of you have. That's the thing a lot of guys have experienced too. They don't really know. I don't mean like choke. I mean, I guess a lot of people are into choking these days, but I don't just mean like choking. My ex said that about me. Well, there you go, you know? There's like this really weird push and pull, but isn't life suffering? Well, life is suffering, true. there's this really weird push and pull between like different social expectations that guys are presented, and I feel like a lot of guys don't really have a compelling narrative forward, and a lot of this comes to their inability to make friendships. Like, guys don't really make friendships the way I think it's healthy to make friendships. It's, in fact, it's so denormalized for guys to have healthy friendships, they will make fun of women for making healthy friendships. It's literally a joke in a lot of, like, normie circles amongst men to make fun of women for being sociable and friendly and conciliatory to each other. You know? Like, that's a real thing. I think that might be one of the reasons why abusive guys tend to isolate their partners really, really, really aggressively. It's because they know their only friend is going to be their girlfriend, so they don't want their girlfriend to have anything other than him. You know what I mean? But Vaush, at the same time, there's the stereotype that men friendship is way more genuine and stuff. Dude, that's cope. The lie that male friendships are more genuine is such fucking cope, dude. I'm sorry, having Discord friends that you play League of Legends with 3 times a week is not inherently more fucking legitimate than the relationships girls make, okay? I've seen the type of guys who make these jokes that male friendships are more, like, sincere, and I've seen what friend circles they have. It's fucking cope, dude. They imagine that all girl friendships are them all going out to the bar and doing their nails and lying to each other and then sleeping with guys behind each other's backs. In reality, women, being people, have a normal range of friendships, but I feel like the whole, I may never leave my house, but at least my friendships are authentic shit is the exact same sort of thing that a, like, fedora-wearing milady type would say about his sexual conquests, you know? I may not be sleeping around all the time, but at least I'm saving myself for a pure maiden. Like, that's what it feels like to me. It feels like cope shit, you know? So what they see on TV, well, yeah, of course. That's one of the big issues. Nobody does, like, real friendships anymore. Like, honest, real, honest-to-God friendships. Nobody does that shit anymore. That's men and women, by the way, or, like, everyone, you know? Most people's friendships are, like, highly, highly transactional. And I mean, I do this to an extent, too, so I'm not saying, like, I'm immune to this or anything like that. I don't mean just with COVID. I mean before COVID as well. But, like, a lot of people have a really difficult time, I think, opening up to form the kind of friendships that are really rewarding, because you have to be vulnerable to make those friendships truly rewarding, and men are taught not to do that, so it can be especially difficult for them to reach that point, you know? Hold on. Me and my buddy have been friends for over 20 years. Fuck out of here with that shit. Damn, dude. When I said people have trouble forming real relationships anymore, I was totally directly impugning you. I'm glad you cleared that up and fucking reminded everyone watching right now that you, and you specifically, repute the absolute certainty with which I was speaking. Jesus Christ. It's a fact, by the way, that people are having fewer and fewer friends these days. You can actually look. All the numbers are tracking up. Or worse, I guess. Average number of friends for a person in college, lower than it used to be. Age at which people lose their virginity, higher than it used to be, you know? People die with fewer friends than they used to. Like, it's just getting worse across the board. But if we want to solve that, and we should, because friendship's cool, you know, we should probably do a better job of being, like, open to the people around us. And that requires a breadth of emotional, like, honesty that I think a lot of guys are just taught not to do. And a lot of this feels like faggy shit, you know, like, if only guys could be more gay, they could. But I don't mean that. I just mean, like, it's like, how do I put it? I can say faggy shit, I fuck men. It's, how do I put it exactly? I'm trying to think of, like, a really apt comparison here. Moaning during sex. Oh yeah, there's one, by the way. If you're a guy and you're uncomfortable to moan during sex, your partner's missing out for it, okay? I have never been with somebody who didn't like it when men moan during sex, okay? But so few men actually moan during sex. But I've never fucked a person who was like, oh god, please don't moan. That shit's so weird and off-putting. You know the difference even with my femme college friends? They were more willing to do affectionate things to us, like playing with or braiding hair. Oh yeah, that's true. There's also a greater degree of comfort with physical intimacy. It used to be more like that between men as well, but socially now everything thinks that's gay or whatever. But that's true, yeah. Whenever I had like feminine friends in college or whatever, they would be like drunk at a party and they'd be willing to braid my hair or whatever. And these would be like not like close friends. These would just be people I kind of know. But guys I kind of knew would more be like, huh, bro, see the latest league patch? I don't know. There was like a very, very, very different energy. Hetero men are actually less open-minded about sex than women. Yeah, no shit. Dude, hetero men are terrified of sex. Like, at least more so, I think, than they would be otherwise. Generally speaking, the more you deviate from homogeneous, like, social standards, the more likely you are to be comfortable with sex. Being feminist, or being queer, or being trans, or whatever the fuck, makes you more likely to be better at sex, because you're less comfortable in, like, the very strict set of social expectations. But yeah, it's just a thing. Whatever the case may be, like, the point is, I think that if you're a guy, you should be able to be whatever you want to be, as long as you're not hurting other people, obviously, for like fairly obvious reasons. But I think that a lot of guys are taught things that hurt them, and the problem is the term to describe those things is toxic masculinity, but most people shut their fucking brains off like the nanosecond they hear that, you know? But I don't know, dude. It's like, it's really true. Look, I don't care about toxic masculinity to save the feelings of poor women, okay? I care about toxic masculinity because guys kill themselves at fucking higher rates, fucking depression, no friends, sad. And I feel like a lot of it could be addressed with I don't know, not doing those things. That's because they have guns, and toxic masculinity is the reason why men default to more lethal suicide methods. Can we come up with a new word for it? I don't fucking know, dude. Yeah, that's true. Dude, like, if you're I'm playing off stereotypes a little bit here, but the data backs it up. Like, if you're a woman and you attempt suicide, there's usually, like, it's a less lethal method, and there's more likelihood that you get stopped in the act, or you get taken to a hospital room. But with guys, like, guns, bam, you're done. You can't really interrupt that too well. Yeah, the problem with the term toxic masculinity is that it's fundamentally academic, which means that even though the concept it describes is completely valid and legitimate, and why the fuck has my camera been migrating the entire time I've been speaking? Can we chill over here? Thank you. Like, the concept it describes is totally legitimate. The issue is that it just sounds like men bad. We should call it over macho-ness. Well, machismo is also a term you know, that's used. Yeah, it's a marketing issue, fundamentally. But, like, here, chat, I'm asking you, okay? There are a lot of guys watching. What do you want? Like, what do you want? Like, where is the antagonism between you and society? I want to be happy? Okay, come on. Let's a little more specific here. Love? Okay, wait, I'm sorry. What I meant was, in what ways, this is my fault for bad phrasing, in what ways is society preventing you from feeling comfortable doing things you want to do? You know what I mean? I want friendly friends. That's good. A lot of guy friends are super standoffish with one another because they're constantly performatively indicating that they don't have any affection for one another. That shit's really cringe, by the way. If you have a guy friend, any friend, but if you have a guy friend, it's mostly guy friends who do this, who are constantly jokingly insulting you because they want to make sure you know they don't, like, really care or whatever. Like, I think that's, like, really lazy posturing, personally. Workplace grooming standards? You mean like showering? I'm not entirely sure what that means. Want to be able to express my emotions as easily as girls. You know what I want? I want to live in a goddamn anime, okay? Here's the real problem. In anime, people can do whatever the fuck they want and be cool about it, okay? Have you all seen JoJo's Bizarre Adventure? Or read the manga? Even better, okay? In JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, okay? You're a guy, you can do whatever the fuck you want, okay? If you want to be some hulking Titanic muscle god wearing, like, a brick shithouse for pauldrons, you can be that, okay? And if you want to be some skinny, effete, femboy doctor who uses a serum to kill people to extract their stando power, you can do that too, okay? All of this is at your fingertips, okay? But all we do in the world right now is I think largely we make fun of guys who step out of the binary, or make fun of guys who step out of like the little block that they're sort of taught to live within. You know what I mean? If a guy dresses super flamboyant or whatever, people kind of make fun of him for it. I don't even just mean wearing a dress. I mean like if a guy dresses like a fashionista. When the fuck did dressing like a fashionista stop being cool? I think it's cool. There are guys who think the height of fashion is wearing a suit and a tie. I'm going to kill myself, by the way. Dude, men's fashion is so fucking boring. You have your t-shirts, your jeans. Dude, I just went to male fashion advice. I'm ready to bust out the real fit, okay? Time for me to wear slightly better fitting jeans, a dress shirt, and a sweater over it. They're not going to even see me. They can't even be ready for what's coming. Dude, it's so fucking boring. Want to look good for a date? Time to bust out the same suit you've been wearing since 2014 because your body shape still accommodates it. Oh, God, it's so fucking boring, dude. Women's fashion, you can do lots of crazy shit. You want fancy flowing dresses or whatever. That's great. Is this caused by alienation from capitalism? No, actually. This has nothing to do with capitalism. Because if this was truly capitalistic, if this was a social force truly driven by capitalism, men would have way more variance in their clothing choices. For like, it would be more profitable to the clothing industry if men weren't normalized for just wearing a t-shirt and that's it every day. They would want us dressing in a bunch of fancy-pantsy. No, this is an element of identity politics that intersects at some points with class, like for streetwear and hyperconsumerism, yeah. But at most points, I think it's largely a social issue. Vaush, I hate feeling like I can't talk with girls. I know it's like overplayed or whatever, but you have to treat them like people. I really mean that. Like, don't think of them like girls. Here's the thing. When a guy talks to a guy, they never, ever think, I'm talking to a guy. They never do that. They never, ever, ever do that, okay? But when a guy talks to a girl, they think, I'm talking to a girl. And like, even if they're not intentionally doing anything, there are different mechanisms in their brain that are firing because they're considering them different. Even if you think of women as people, I'm not saying you're sexist or whatever, but there's a different set of things, okay? Women don't do that. When women are talking to a woman, for the most part, they think, I'm talking to this person. And when a woman talks to a man, they're thinking, I'm talking to this person. Women don't do this really weird binary split thing. Some do, but not as often. Not even close to as often, I don't think. You sure? No. I guarantee you, at least to a lesser extent, women don't do that as much. The main reason for that is because guys are just taught that girls are like a different type of thing. They're like a whole different type of thing, you know? And you can unlearn that later. I was taught that. Nobody told me women are like a different type of person than men. I was never told that. But you learn it based on media, you know? When you're watching anime or TV or whatever, everyone else behaves kind of differently and weirdly with girls. And, you know, in video games, the girls always do, the guys dress pragmatically, the girls dress like in a more showboaty way that shows off ass and titties, or at least is more fashionable. And you think, okay, there's some difference here. And then you meet a girl in real life and you know in your head, you're like, okay, they're a person, they're just a person. But internally, you're still thinking like, okay, but they're like a woman person though. Yeah. Also, a lot of men are just taught that every interaction with women should be like a seduction effort as well. And by the way, if you're horny, listen, this is a point of personal privilege, okay? One of the reasons that I was able to move away from this is because I'm attracted to men and women. And for that reason, once I realized I was attracted to men, and I thought when I was looking at a guy, similar things to the way I felt when I was looking at a girl, I realized how weird it actually was. So like, when I was attracted to a woman back when I was 13, I didn't realize I liked men at the time. And I was thinking like, okay, guys are guys and girls are girls. These girls are hot, you know, bro, titties, big titty, booba, big booba. But then like, I'm 16 or 17 and I meet guys who I think are hot. And I'm looking at them and I'm thinking, wait, hold on, they're talking to me. Wait, hold on. Wait, did I just miss something? Well, I was thinking about dick. What was I missed something. Hold on. And I realized how weird my behavior was. You know what I mean? But not everyone's pan or bi or whatever. So that's like a process of personal... We'll get to the Biden thing shortly, okay? We can just rewind 5-10 minutes. That's fine. We can do that. I'm a girl and I have trouble talking to girls because I have that thing in my brain. Well, yeah, I think that people generally struggle a little bit talking to people that they're attracted to, but there are good and bad ways to do that, okay? If you're just kind of like if you're just kind of like awkward around people you're attracted to, that's pretty normal, I think, at least a little bit. But there's a difference between that and it being this like categorical inability to converse normally with women, you know? But it's okay to be a little awkward around people you're attracted to. Any strong opinion on ritualistic circumcision? Not a fan of it at all. What if you're pan and you can't talk to anyone? Then you just got to learn to talk to everyone. Here's the secret. It's not sexist if you're weird to men and women. That's what I'm talking about, baby. It also contributes that when you're younger, if you even look at a girl, all the adults assume that she's your girlfriend. Yeah, people do a lot of really weird shit. You know how people will say that like it's child abuse to impose sex or gender on a kid, but then they're like 4-year-old son will be at the playground talking to like a 4-year-old girl and he'll walk back to you and you'll be like, is that your girlfriend? I've seen a lot of people do that. That's really fucking weird, dude. Dude, don't ship people IRL, especially not when they're fucking 4 years old. That's really fucking weird, okay? Listen, you can put your kid in like a onesie with the Chad on it, but only if it's a girl, okay? Because then you're breaking gender norms. No, can you imagine you have like twins and you put one of them in a virgin onesie and one of them in a Chad onesie? That's not good. Don't do that. But yeah. Say men and women can be friends. Of course men and women can be friends. Listen. So I think that a lot of this fundamentally comes down to like men being taught to handle their sexual impulses really immaturely or poorly. I don't know. You know how like some guys, and this is in media, this is the thing too. Some guys are like super aggressively sexual and they just can't control themselves. This gets fetishized in like women's erotic literature. I think it's like really pathetic. Or guys who lose their shit when they lose a video game, like they lose a round of League of Legends and they pound the keyboard or something like that. That shit makes me cringe so fucking hard. I don't know, dude. Maybe this is just, I know that a lot of people fetishize like animalistic bestial sex or whatever, but like, I don't mean rape. I just mean like aggressive. Let's not rape. I mean like aggressive sex. Though rape does get fetishized to hell in women's erotic literature too. But like I think that when people act like this, it's really fucking pathetic, okay? We're not fucking werewolves, okay? We don't have gigantic knotted penises that we can use to fertilize millions of human women every night on the full moon, okay? We have regular human penises. At least I do. I don't know about all you. That's what I have. You speak for yourself. But anyway, yeah, that shit's just really weird. There are a lot of guys who are like that. We all know the Rager, right? A lot of streamers are like that too. It just makes me feel really weird. Like, why? It's a bad attitude for improving at things too, you know? When you freak out when you lose, you're not going to get better. It does not contribute to getting better. Who was the worst Rager back in the StarCraft 2 days? Was it Idra? I remember back when didn't he like quit a game one time because of a mass illusioned army or something like that? The raging shit, it's not good, okay? It doesn't help you improve. No, Destiny was not the worst rager in StarCraft 2. Not even fucking close. Yeah, anger makes you stupid, you know? You gotta be chill. You gotta be real chill. I know I bring this up a lot, but I try to relate it back to like drawing and stuff like that. There are people who have been drawing for a really long time and they don't get that much better because the attitude with which they approach doesn't facilitate like self-improvement. That can actually work in pretty much any facet of life. You know what I mean? Anytime you want to improve in any aspect, beating yourself up over shit really does not help, like at all. Like not even slightly, it doesn't help you. Beating yourself, people talk about this, like especially insecure people, you know? How I gotta be aware of my faults in order for me to improve. First of all, awareness is not beating yourself up. A lot of guys do this too, and I don't think this is a male specific thing, but I want to talk about anything. International Men's Day, you have to chill in that stuff, okay? A lot of guys, a lot of people, but a lot of guys, you know, is like, if they fuck up on something, and everyone fucks up, you know, everyone fucks up, they get really angry and really embittered, and they don't have people to turn to because they don't want to expose those vulnerabilities to other people, you know? For whatever propensity this has along a gendered line, with a lot of women, if they feel they fuck up on something, they do have close personal friends they can turn to. But I've had a lot of guy friends who just, it feels like they have nobody to talk to, you know? Except for their partners. And that's, you know the old meme? When a guy and a girl break up, the guy's happy on day one because he's finally free of that nag, but then 1 month in, he's depressed. The woman's devastated day one, but 1 month out and she's going back and partying. You know why that meme is a meme? And it's a real thing, by the way. And do you know why? It's because that woman had other friendships and the guy didn't. She had a support system and he didn't. That meme is a real fucking thing. It's a real thing. It's happened to me before. Yeah, men only befriend their girlfriends' friends. True. And I'm speaking from personal experience here. I don't make IRL friends. I mean, nowadays I have such a large online presence that I have like a different whole relationship. Please look at male sexual assault. The definition of rape often misleads stats. Oh yeah, men get raped by women. Yeah, undeniably. New data challenges old. I think I've seen this exact study. I think I've cited this exact study. There are usually differences in how the rape takes place that are worthwhile, but that difference doesn't take away the fact that men are very often victims of rape in a way that isn't really dealt with socially, because men who are raped by women are socially discouraged from ever speaking up about it. You know what I mean? I don't want to listen. There's like a whole soliloquy that we could get into about like social expectations around rape and sexual assault, but that's like a whole other thing, and it's 20 minutes minimum, and it's all going to be very negative. And we'll get to the Trump thing shortly, okay? Chill the fuck out. Holy shit, Mason Bartholomew. I don't know if I'll be able to get that today, but thank you so much. I will get that soon. Thank you very much. Yeah, anyway, that's a whole goddamn thing. That's a whole fucking thing. But I'm sorry. The point that I am laboriously trying to get to here is that I think men would be better off if they learned how to make friendships a little bit better, and if they drop the really weird isolationist hyper-individualism bullshit, okay? Have you ever watched an anime? Okay? Friendship is magic. Well, that's not an anime, that's the show. But that's also the lesson of all anime, okay? And personally, oh god, can I relate this to one other thing? I'm sorry, this is so fucking random. XD, banana, whatever. I'm rambling, but can I relate this to one other thing? I'm gonna finish on this, okay? I think we need stories to help us live up to our best. This is why I like art media. We need stories and examples to help us live our best lives, okay? Even today, as an adult who has a career and money, I still feel like I need guidance from the wisdom of real and fictional people who've lived their lives, real or fictional, in ways that I find admirable. A good example I hear a lot of people talk about is Uncle Iroh from Avatar, The Last Airbender. Because a lot of people seen Avatar, The Last Airbender, so it's a common one. And he's just like, for those of you who haven't seen, he's like this unfathomably kind, wise old guy. And that's not like a new trope. Wise old guy is like a super old trope. Iroh might be one of the best iterants of those ever done. And of course, Iroh's not a real guy. He's a fictional character voiced by a real guy who then died and was then voiced again by another real guy. And he was drawn. But people have been telling themselves stories about how to behave since day one. Mythology, I mean, that's way back from the beginning. And this is a kind of mythology. You know what a great modern example of positive masculinity is, in my opinion? Zagreus from Hades. For those of you who haven't played it, Zagreus is the main character in a recent and famous, or very, very popular, roguelike. But the character, Zagreus, is really, really, well, he's masculine. He's like this half-naked muscular guy who fights and loves fighting. But he's also exceptionally kind and interested in making friends. And that's great, I think. Oh god, hold on. Sorry, this is such a tangent. I apologize, but Zagreus lines. Just give me one scene of him talking to another person, and I think you will completely understand where I'm coming from. Come here.
To most the beautiful. It's got to be.
Come then. All right, come on. Give me a section where he's talking.
Shade to your immediate left there, father.
Nope, he has a bad relationship with his father. That's not a good example of him being kind. Here we go.
This taking in the side. Why, good to see you, Charon, mate. Just minding my own business, taking in the sides, and sure is awfully convenient to be running into you like this. I had all this coin I wanted to get rid of. The end.
It's hard for me to describe offhandedly, but in spite of generally being very masculine, he has this very sort of deliberate friendliness with which he speaks to others. And in spite of him being like, yeah, to me, this is like an example of an alpha male, kind of, if that term is to be useful. It's not some like weird isolationist loner dipshit. It's like a very, very personable, sociable individual who can relate to others. Don't forget, by the way, that in the original Virgin versus Chad memes, Chad was very social and very kind to the people around him. Remember? Nowadays, Virgin is just a bad person and Chad is good person. But originally, one of the characteristics of Chad was being attentive and kind to all of his friends, sexually accomplished, but views all the people that he has sex with as people. The original Chad was, well, more holistically a good person. The archetype. Yeah, a himbo, kind of. And himbos are good things to be, you know, because they're nice people. That's an actual comic? No, like the original memes about it. How about Steven Universe? Steven is like definitely friendly. There are elements of Steven Universe and of both the character in the show that would make me uncomfortable describing him as like a, I don't know if you mean like as a chat. I think there are enviable characteristics there. I think Greg's a good character. The dad, great dad, phenomenal dad. Anyway, the point that I'm trying to get at here is, okay, making friends with people and being friendly is masculine, unironically. You know what's super easy? For a time, isolating yourself, making no friends, trying to take the weight of the world upon your own shoulders and ending up miserable, okay? That's easy until it's not. It starts being difficult and very unrewarding, okay? But being able to make friends, being open and forthcoming and cognizant of your emotional limitations and your range of emotional experiences, I think that is significantly more rewarding, and I don't think that's unmasculine at all. I think that's great, I think that's phenomenal, and I think people should do that, and it's something that I try to do. I'm not perfect, but I think I try to do it, and I think other people should try it too. So let's all try, we'll do our best, and if we're all a little bit more forthcoming, oh God, you know what so many of us need in our lives? Don't we just want that one new friend? We all joke about the manic pixie dream girl, but it doesn't have to be this weird gendered thing. Like, the idea of going out and just having somebody be kind and interesting. Those are the only two things that a person needs to be, by the way, kind and interesting. Those are the only two valid, viable, important characteristics, the fundamental characteristics upon which everything else is built. Kind and interesting. You meet somebody like that, and you talk with them for a while, and it's fun, and it's not compelled, and then you leave, but then you talk again in the future, and the friendship is sincere, and there's no weird mutual obligation, it's just something that develops naturally. Everybody is capable of doing that. This isn't some magical, weird anime-only thing. It's a real thing humans can do to each other, with each other, at will. Takes a little practice, but we can do it. And I think we should all do it. Anime is real. Yeah, but everyone is boring as shit. Wrong. People are taught to be boring. People are taught to be boring because they're taught nobody wants them, nobody has time for them, nobody cares about the shit they have to say, and the mundanity of late-stage capitalism grinds them down until they have no interest in engaging with the people they meet out in the world. You think like a supermarket cashier is going to put energy into an interaction with you when they have to interact with 1,000 dipshits a day? No. There are ways we can make it more possible for us to develop these social relations. So we should do that. Socialism, etc., etc. But we should do that, okay? But in the meantime, capitalism may be an impediment. It is not a fucking force field. We can do it. How can we do this during a pandemic? The pandemic does make things difficult. I admit, it's still possible online to develop good, honest, open relationships, but I think that in-person relationships are generally more fulfilling, or at least they have the capacity to be more fulfilling. But yeah, there are things you can do. But this segment isn't about that. This segment is about how we should do that. And I believe that. And I'm glad I talked about this, because the last time I talked about this, my average concurrent viewership was literally 1/10 of what we have right now. So thank you. Okay, let's look at the press conference. Okay. You have never worked at Trader Joe's, Vaush? No, but I applied there once. I applied there once and I got grilled because one of the interviewers asked me if I knew when Trader Joe's was founded, and I said I didn't. They were like, didn't do your research, did you? Which is true. That is true. I just wanted the job, thank you. All right, give me the link, goddammit. Are we looking at... Oh, and if you enjoyed all that bullshit, please do consider subscribing. I love you all very much. We're going to take a look at another press conference, apparently. And I would appreciate if you subbed, so again, we can keep the sub counter higher than the current COVID death toll in America. Wait, are we looking at Biden or are we looking at Trump-Pence? What are we doing? Yeah, Biden. I want to see Biden. I don't give a fuck about the COVID task force. Give me Biden. I want Biden. Is there anything I can do about this as a woman? Nothing that I just said was gender specific. Like, if you want to live a good life, that your gender has nothing to do with that shit, you know? Like my only real suggestion would be, if you're not a guy, I think it's important to respect that from a social perspective, a lot of guys basically grow up with a fucking social disability for how they're taught to act with other people. So just keep that in mind when you interact with them, okay? Often there are a lot of guys who make, like, their best efforts at something, and because they're basically, like, gender autismed, they have a difficult time expressing themselves. But yeah, no need to be weird or particular about it. Do we have it? Here we go. Okay, I gotta go pee real quick. I drank a lot of coffee before stream started. Once I come back, I will fast forward this VOD to the position it ought to be in. Let's go! Hold on. Also, I showed her on stream earlier.
Only for a second.
Are you the ones that let the cats in here, or did they just not open the door?
Oh, I didn't let them in.
Ah.
I was wondering why you did.
I did not. Yeah? What? Ah.
Attacking me. Pigeon.
Pigeon. No! Ah! Stop! Show.
He's evil right now.
Show. Violence! Nope. There we go. Wah, ugly. She's always crying. It's just a thing. Ooh. Ooh. Stretchy. Here you go.
She doesn't mind. Come here.
Is she still growing? Yeah, but just by a little. Hold on. She's fucking filthy. I have to clean my hands after I hold her. She's much worse at cleaning herself than Artemy is. Okay, let's go. Up. Up. You got to bathe them? We do bathe them. We just need to bathe her again.
To do.
Let's go!
Good afternoon. President-elect Biden and I just met with a bipartisan group of Democratic and Republican governors. We talked about what we need to do to make free testing available for everyone, to make a free vaccine available for everyone.
Cool.
And to get this pandemic under control. Governors are elected by their states to take action in moments of crisis.
Oh, by the way, one funny little bit of irony. You know how the Trump administration has been firing a fuck ton of officials? Once he fires those officials, they now have the legal ability to share information, which, while private, may not necessarily be confidential with the Biden transition team. So because Trump has not officially recognized Biden as the president-elect, they can't give him info now. But if they're fired, they're no longer bound by the rules of the administration and can. Of course, they can't share classified intel, but...
They're the ones who go to the places and talk to the people who are hardest hit. And during this pandemic, they have been called on to make very difficult decisions about the health and safety of the people they represent, about opening schools, and about opening our economy responsibly. I have served in both state and local government, so I understand the critical role our governors play. And they will have partners in the White House starting on January 20th. Because as Governor Herbert said in our meeting, when the states are successful, the country is successful. So our message to our governors and to all of our nation's state and local leaders is simple. President-elect Biden and I will make sure you have the resources and support you need to save lives and help get our economy back on track.
What's the term for this type of tie again? I think it looks nice. What's the term for this?
Track. And we will
An ascot? Okay. Necktie? Ascot? Okay.
also make sure that our federal, state, local, and tribal authorities are working closely together so we can tackle these challenges as effectively as possible. Because when it comes to this pandemic and the economic recovery, we are not Democrats or Republicans.
We're Americans.
We are Americans.
Americans.
And we will be there for one another. That's the kind of leadership the American people need and deserve, and it's the kind of leadership President-elect Biden and I will provide, and it is now my great honor to introduce President-elect Joe Biden.
I'm fine with the sentiment here. I'm okay with Republicans getting treated the same as Democrats, as long as no members of the Trump administration can get any of this, okay? So listen, build roads that we can all drive on fine, as long as they have to take helicopters, okay? Build healthcare services we can all use, as long as they have to go over to Mexico to get cheaper drugs, okay? That's what I'm here for, all right? Everyone but the administration. Wait, what did they just... Aw, she had like a little big footstool. That's nice. I think it's cute.
Hello, folks. Good afternoon. Thanks for your patience.
Ooh. Ooh.
The Vice President-elect and I, as this was pointed out, have just concluded a video conference with the executive leadership of the National Governors Conference. They included Governor Cuomo, New York Governor Hutchinson, Governor Hogan, Governor Whitmer.
Oh, we're going to have words about Governor Cuomo when we're done with this shit, by the way. Oh, we got words to have.
Governor Ivey, Governor Polis, Governor Baker, Governor Lujan Grisham, Governor Herbert, and Governor Carney. And it was really a worthwhile undertaking. You know, they've had to make some really tough calls during this unprecedented crisis. And we're incredibly grateful for everything they've done and keep doing to try to keep their communities safe. Unfortunately, because of the lack of discernment, as they say, that's a fancy word these days, but until the head of the GSA says that we, in fact, our team, this transition team, our team, the senator and I, have in fact are the likely winners. And until she does that,
Likely
we don't
winners.
have access to all the information that we need to get from all the various agencies. We're not able to deal with everything from testing to guidance to the all-important issue of vaccine distribution, and even more importantly, vaccination plan to actually get vaccinations. We haven't been able to get into Operation Warp Speed, but we will take what we've learned today and build it into our planning. The country is still in a crisis, and there's a dark winter still ahead. Yesterday, America reached another tragic milestone, 250,000 deaths. 250,000 people died due to COVID-19. And there are empty chairs and dining room tables were filled just days and weeks ago with loved ones, family, friends who laughed and talked together. To those families and friends that are left behind, Jill and I send our love and our prayers. We know, like many of you do, how tough it is to find purpose in the memory of a loved one.
It's actually insane how much increasing the playback speed by 25% increases his presidential chops, you know? How much it increases his respectability. I really feel like, I mean, if we want to improve this country, I feel like what we really need to do is just invest in some sort of chronic, aberrant, neurotypical technology to accelerate the pace of their speech. And that way, like, we can all live on this time scale.
You've just lost. It'll take time, but you'll find it. You'll find it. And you'll find your purpose, as we're going to find our purpose for our nation as a nation now. I promise you that. And I promise you that we'll work together. There's a great meeting we had today. All the governors, no matter their political party, whether they're from wherever part of the country they represent it, no matter their political philosophy, shared a strong and abiding sense of a common purpose. There was a real desire for a real partnership between the states and the federal government. Each of the governors emphasized that we might be Democrats or Republicans, but we're all Americans first. They congratulated us heartily for our win. What really pleased me most was that governors made clear that beating COVID-19 is going to require all of us working together as one country. Kamala and I agree. We were deeply impressed with how much consensus there was, how to move forward among the governors. What we need to do now is how we need to do it. How are we going to do it? In what coordinated way can it be done?
I take it back. I support Trump now. It's so much easier to make funny-ass takes when it's Trump or Trump's team up here. When it's Biden, he just sounds sensible. It's really difficult to riff off of it, you know? I mean, it's good to know. It's good to have the info.
We discussed a number of critical ways we can work together and unify around a national approach to controlling COVID-19. First, delivering economic relief to the cities, states, and tribal communities. The lost revenue from COVID and the cost of COVID recovery is devastating to state and local budgets. As governors, as all of them indicated, we've got to come together. The federal government has to deliver this relief sooner rather than later, and with flexibility for the states to meet their needs. This includes helping businesses, schools, working families. From unemployment benefits to early education, continued access to affordable health care, all of that is needed during this pandemic. States and communities shouldn't have to lay off teachers, cops, firefighters, cut vital services for families and businesses. The second thing there was uniform agreement on, delivering a safe and equitable and free vaccine. The governors all acknowledge that this will be a massive undertaking, one of the greatest operational challenges we will have faced as a nation. One statistic that was raised by the governors, it took 8 months to provide 100 million COVID tests. 8 months to provide COVID tests. Just imagine how much more difficult it will be, they pointed out, if we don't find a more efficient and effective way to provide 330 million vaccinations. Put it in perspective. They made the point, we can't wait. That's what the governors are raising. In the meeting, we discussed the challenges that lie ahead in distributing and administering the vaccine. The governors talked about how getting doses of vaccine distributed is just one step. We have to actually get vaccinations into the arms of 330 million Americans. That takes enormous resources, people, product. We discussed the difficulty of that task. It's going to take time. It's going to take coordination. It's going to take the federal government and state governments working hand in glove, working together. The governors all...
You know what I think about? I think about how much this is going to, like, perma-fuck certain industries. The movie industry is the big one, you know? When did you guys have your moment of realization that there had been no Marvel movie all year? Like, when did that hit you, you know? The movie industry is gone. Like, it's been obliterated, you know? But not just Marvel movies, like good movies too. Tourism is, like, gone. Well, I mean, we literally can't leave the country, but even intra-America, intra-state tourism is fucking gone right now. There are some industries that aren't going to recover for like a decade or more. Which is really weird to think about. Yeah, sports, theater, basically everything that relies on, you know, that relies on movement and in-person engagement. I noticed when I heard that Evangelion 4.0 was delayed due to COVID. Yeah, it sucks, dude. And a lot of this shit feels like it's not going to come back for a while. Nevada is expected to need a bailout for the state because we don't have a tax base in order to maintain our basic social services. Yeah, because Nevada has like 5 people in it. I feel like for the state, Nevada probably has the highest electric bill per person of any state, right? Keeping the strip up and active must be quite the fucking chore when you have only 10 people who actually live in the goddamn city. It's because we have no income tax here in Nevada. Yeah, I imagine, yeah, you're just taking it off the top of, off the casinos, but nobody's going to the casinos, right? The strip is all renewable energy? Wait, is that true? Is the strip all renewable energy? Yup, that's true. Oh, I guess so. I guess there's lots of sun in Nevada, so probably... Oh, the Hoover Dam. Oh, okay. Well, that's nice. Well, all right. Well, whatever the case is.
I'll emphasize.
Wait! That's the plot of New Vegas! I didn't know the Hoover Dam actually powered the strip. I thought that was just in the future after the war. I didn't know that was the thing that actually really happened. It's all coming together now. Okay.
We need to be clear with the American people about what to expect. No false expectations. Let them know what we anticipate.
Enormous brain.
They all acknowledge that this is going to take a massive public education campaign. And we also need to reach traditionally underserved communities that are being hardest hit by the pandemic. Black, brown, Latino, Latin American community, Native American communities, small towns, rural communities. They talked about that in some detail. Thirdly, we discussed the need to help states with Title 32 funding for the National Guard. That's a fancy way of saying governors need to be able to get funding when they need to.
Damn, they made New Vegas a real thing.
And National Guard's going to have to play this. It costs a lot of money, and governors need that paid for. Governors discussed the need for funding when waiving certain FEMA fees. The fact is that this is a national emergency. That's what FEMA is supposed to deal with. Our view is that should be done. When it comes to deploying the National Guard or COVID or real relief, that should be paid for. You know, that's something Kamala and I will be very focused on. And fourthly, we discussed the implementation of a national mask mandate. 10 governors, Democrat and Republican, have imposed masking requirements and recognized the need for universal masking, north, south, east, and west. It's not a political statement. It's a patriotic duty. And fifth,
I know this is like a comic done by Adam Ellis or something like that, but the whole like Republicans say that we've politicized COVID-19, and then Republicans will say that it's Soros lockdown control to do a mask mandate. Dude, I don't know. Dude, fuck this country, bro. America is handling COVID-19 worse than almost anywhere else. There are parts of Southeast Asia right now where you can just go to concerts. You can just go to a fucking concert over there because there's no fucking COVID. Wasn't there recently some massive concert where there were like tens of thousands of people were there and they haven't had a domestic COVID case in 200 days? Yeah, you can go to this fucking cinema. You can go, yeah. You can just go, fuck this country, dude. Taiwan, it was in Taiwan? Gotcha. America's never getting out of this. Even vaccinating people won't be enough. We still need to lock down. And the Taiwan concert, let me take a look. America's never going to get out of it. Even when we start manufacturing vaccines, people are never, ever, ever, they're never going to stop. Like, I can't believe there aren't more Americans angry about this. Like, look at this shit. They can just go out there and have fun. Well, they're still wearing masks, of course, for safety, but yeah, but look at this. This is T-pop, Taiwan pop. They just did it, but we're gonna be in this fucking hole forever. We would have fixed this if we hadn't made COVID-19 a political issue. If the Republicans hadn't made COVID-19 a political issue, we could be living this right now. This could be us. This could be America. But because of the Republican Party, because of all the anti-vaxxers, because of all the anti-maskers, all the fucking anti-lockdown types, we didn't get to do it. We let our country wither and rot because they want to make it a political issue. This could be us. COVID-19 is not going to burn out in this country for a long ass fucking time either.
We discussed making testing more available and accessible. Anyone who wants a test should be able to get one, period. And finally, while we focused on the immediate needs to control the virus, the governors also raised and talked about how much we have to build back better, especially on infrastructure and education and so much more.
Remember the Build Back Better slogan? And when it initially came out, it was super cringe. I feel like it's taken a little bit more to me now. I still don't think it's good, but when I hear it, it doesn't make me cringe anymore.
This was not a one-off meeting. We committed. We agreed that we'll continue to work and meet with the governors on a regular basis, continue to seek their input, and that our COVID teams will follow up and coordinate on the issues coming out of that call. Because some of them have very competent people on their COVID teams in their states.
Vaush, you're already rehabilitating him. He's not even in yet. Bro, if I'm a liberal for saying that a slogan he's chosen isn't as bad as I initially thought it was, then fucking sign me up for liberalism, okay? Get me a fucking brunch appointment. I'll wait for him to start doing bad shit for me to criticize him for it. Also, he's not even in yet. Actually, when we're talking about bad shit, there are already a bunch of criticisms that I could make about his cabinet picks. But I'm holding off because a lot of the cabinet picks need to be approved anyway, so I feel like a lot of shit we're not even going to know for a while.
The bottom line, we can do this. There's nothing beyond our capacity, but we have to come together as a country. What this meeting, along with others we've had, reinforces, in my view, is the unity the country is looking for. They're looking for us to come together and deal with problems, most of which have no ideological basis for disagreement. That's what we have to do. That's what the governors talked about.
Asiano,
It
you're
really was
popping off,
pleasing
man.
to hear them. I want to thank you all, and may God bless you all and those who lost someone. You're in our prayers. May God protect our troops. I'm happy to take a few questions, and my
There we
boss is
go.
going to
Give me
tell me
that.
who that is.
What does rehabilitate mean in this context? It's being misused by the person who made the initial thing. Rehabilitating in this context would be like, after Biden leaves office, I start telling people that actually he wasn't that bad. Or if I did that to Obama, but I've never done that to Obama. I don't know why I would do it to Biden, you know?
Thank you, Mr. President-elect. I know you mentioned the economic impact and talked a bit about the relief package you wanted, but I was wondering if we could talk about things that you'll be able to do just as president, or what will sort of govern your decision in terms of the economy. So I was wondering if I could ask what kind of framework you're thinking about as you decide about a Treasury Secretary going forward. Whether you would consider, you had said during the debates that you wanted to punish China over the way that they've been acting, whether that could include economic sanctions or tariffs towards China. And finally, do you think a strong dollar helps or hurts the U.S. as we're grappling with historic unemployment?
Well, look, let me try to take them one at a time. You'll soon hear my choice for Treasury. I've made that decision. We've made that decision. And you'll hear that either just before or just after Thanksgiving, number one. And you'll find it is someone who I think will be accepted by all elements of the Democratic Party, from the progressive to the moderate coalitions. Secondly, it's not so much about punishing China. It's about making sure China understands they got to play by the rules. It's a simple proposition. And so that's one of the reasons why we're going to rejoin the World Health Organization. We're going to
What the fuck are we going to do about the concentration camps in China? The fuck are you asking me for? It's the other side of the world. It's the other most powerful country on earth. What the fuck do you think? Realistically, the most that we could do about them is sanctions and multilateral trade agreements to try to extract from them concessions with regard to their treatment of the ethnic group. But even that would require, I mean, like, we're not going to fucking invade them. Like,
rejoin on day one as well, and it needs reform, I acknowledge, and rejoin the Paris Climate Accord. And we have to make sure that the rest of the world and we get together and make sure there are certain bright lines Chinese understand. We have to not only deal with this pandemic, we have to plan for the next one. The idea that viruses are going to go away is just not rational. We're going to recalibrate and set up the institutional structures we had in our administration, Obama, Biden, and build on it. And what was your third question?
It was about the dollar, sir, whether you think a strong dollar will help or hurt with unemployment, or generally just how you'd like the Federal Reserve to sort of approach the...
Oh, God, can you imagine anybody asking Trump that question? Do you believe a strong dollar is detrimental or beneficial during times of high unemployment? And what do you think about the Federal Reserve's policy in this regard? Can you imagine Trump trying to give an answer on this question, dude? Holy shit. I think the bigger the dollar, the better. I think we need a huge, very big, strong dollar. We have the strongest dollar today that we've ever had in history. We actually have the weakest dollar we've ever had in history. But
quite frankly, the way the Federal Reserve has been approaching dealing with the dollar I think, has been in a positive direction. Our interest rates are as low as they have been in modern history, and I think that is a positive thing. It lends credence to the possibility of us being able to expend the money and deficit spend in order to be able to generate economic growth right off the bat. And so I think it's been positive so far.
Hey, that fucking, not Bayesian, Jesus. What's the name? Deficit spending guy? Come on, The Economist, everyone knows. I'm blanking right now. Come on. Keynesian economics. There we go. That is the correct choice right now, yeah. The best thing we can do to get out of this crisis is to spend money like nobody's fucking business, okay? We need to printer go burr, okay? The Federal Reserve, all right? The Federal Reserve, those motherfuckers need to start cranking. We need to fucking burr our way out of this goddamn economic crisis, okay? Get it on out of there. The government needs to print as much money as they need to pay everyone to stay the fuck inside. Yeah, it's Bernie's policy. This is not modern monetary theory, okay? You don't have to be a fucking MMT cultist to believe that sometimes deficit spending is okay, okay? No, you don't have to do fucking modern... No. That works in the past, right? Yeah, it's worked. You're not getting me in your goddamn MMT cultist bullshit, okay? Dude, money's not even real. Just print infinite money, and it's fine. It's just money, bro. Just print more money. You're not getting me that time. Dude, we need to do an econ stream sometime, okay? This has always been one of my biggest... That's not MMT. I'm sorry. I apologize. I was making a joke. It'd be nice to do an econ stream sometime, because I'm not, like, super versed on economics. I mean, probably more than like the average person, but it's definitely something I'd like to learn more about. I think it'd be fun to examine and investigate some of these things, you know? I think that'd be pretty fun. Boring stream? This is one of the big problems, bro. Dude, aren't you all Marxists? Marx was an economist. Like, we need to understand modern economic theory if we want to understand the context in which we would apply Marxian economics, do we not? I haven't read him, so no. Well, yeah, there you go. Anyway, you need to understand. Listen, this, you know what's really cringe? Are you ready for the cringiest behavior that you'll ever going to see from fucking lefties? It's when they don't understand how capitalism works. That is the cringiest shit you're ever going to see. Because, look, I don't like capitalism, but as long as we're in capitalism, you need to know how it works. It's like... Imagine if you're, oh, God. It's like, imagine if you're on a boat, okay? And you're not controlling or piloting the boat, okay? But the pilot, the boat captain, the captain of the boat, okay, is fucking taking your ship through some rocky-ass waters, okay? And you ask them, hey, can you go over there to the smooth waters, please? And the captain is like, nope, I like it here just fine. And you're like, I'm gonna have a fucking coup. I'm gonna depose this motherfucker. There's going to be a goddamn change of plans. And you knock the captain out, and you take hold of the wheel, and then you realize you have no fucking idea how to fucking pilot the boat in the rapids, okay? You have no idea. You have no fucking clue. That's the issue, all right? You need to know how to manage the system that you're in order to move it to a better system. Lefties understand capitalism on average more than MAGAs do. MAGAs? Yeah, of course, obviously. Looking forward to the econ stream? Yeah. Yeah, we need to get, excuse me, Medlock on. Isn't Medlock like the tax man? Hold on. Medlock is the tax man, right? Yeah, the Medlockian thought. We're mutuals, right? Yeah. Yeah, we can give it a look.
Thank you, Mr. President-elect. You have said that if this transition doesn't get going, especially coordination on vaccine distribution, that lives will be lost. How many lives do you think are at risk here if this transition remains stalled?
Well, look, you've heard the projections. The projections are that if nothing fundamentally changes between now and beginning of February, we're likely to lose up to total of 400,000 lives, another 150,000 lives. And so it's real. Whether it's that, it gets to 360, whatever it is, it's real. And there is no excuse not to share the data and let us begin to plan. Because on day one, it's going to take us time. If we don't have access to all this data, it's going to put us behind the 8 ball by a matter of a month or more. And that's lives. How many would be lost as a consequence of that? I can't tell you. But the purpose here is to we talked a lot about with the governors about what the immediate needs are. We're going to employ the Defense Reconstruction Act to be able to go out there and dictate companies build and do following things. We need much more testing. We need much more masking. We need gloves. I asked them each to go, and I asked the National Governors Association through the Governor Cuomo and the ones on the line to let us know.
All right. Are you ready for it? This is my prediction. This is my prediction. Okay? I think when all this is said and done, years in the future, the final American COVID-19 death toll will exceed 1 million. That we're going to hit at least 500,000 before vaccines begin to roll out. And after that, there's going to be a steady dissemination of vaccinations starting in city centers, spreading outwards, but large strongholds of the country will both refuse lockdowns and masks and refuse the vaccines. And for that reason, impositions will continue to be made on cities because this stuff happens at a state level, and we're going to continue to be in the mire until at least 2024. Okay? That's my prediction.
Know what their shortages are, what they anticipate, because we're going to move on day one. That should be moved on now. But if it waits, it takes a long time.
4 more years.
And when you take a step back and you look at the way the president is handling this, his refusal to concede, what do you think is really going on here? In your view, Mr. President-elect, what do you think the president is doing? What are Americans witnessing here?
Let me choose my words here. I think they're witnessing incredible irresponsibility, incredibly damaging messages being sent to the rest of the world about how democracy functions. And I think it is, well, I don't know his motive, but I just think it's totally irresponsible.
Are you concerned he may succeed, that people may question the legitimacy of your administration?
No, I'm not concerned. The vast majority of the American people, all the polling data has indicated, although the Republicans who worry about it is higher, but over 78% of the American people believe it's, without question, it's legitimate.
That's true. Even a large chunk of the Republican Party accepts Biden's win. Excuse me.
I just think it's, and I think most of the Republicans I've spoken to, including some of the governors, think this is debilitating. It's not it sends a horrible message about who we are as a country.
Thank you, Mr. President-elect. Thank you, Vice President-elect Harris. Appreciate it. Nice to see you as well. Yes, appreciate it. You have said that lives could be lost if you don't start getting briefings from the Trump administration. And now here we are, more than 250,000 lives could be lost. Given that, how do you justify not taking legal action to get the briefings that you say are critical, that you say you need?
It would take a lot of time. It would take time. It's not going to speed it up considerably, in my view. And in the meantime, I am hopeful that I'm going to be able to get cooperation from our Republican colleagues in the Senate and the House, as well as the governors, to build a consensus as to how we proceed when we do.
But why not use every tool in your toolbox to get the information that you say you need to do your job and to do it effectively on day one?
I'm making a judgment based on many years of experience in how to get things done with the opposition.
Do you think you would win?
My judgment is that we'll get further along by actually working with our Republican colleagues now.
Reminder, this is 1.25
because
speed.
the time in which we would win would not materially change necessarily. But it's still an open question. It's an open question. It could change.
So you haven't ruled it out. You haven't ruled out legal action against the Trump administration, against the GSA.
We haven't ruled it out.
Okay. And given the death toll now, more than 250,000 Americans who have now lost their lives, you have said that you would support a nationwide shutdown if scientists recommended it. You've spoken to scientists now.
Everybody asks that question every single time I stand here. It was a hypothetical question. The answer was I would follow the science. I am not going to shut down the economy, period. I'm going to shut down the virus. That's what I'm going to shut down.
So that's
I'll
ruled
say
out.
it again. No
That's a
national
meaningless
shutdown.
platitude.
No national shutdown. Because every region, every area, every community can be different. And so there's no circumstance which I can see would require a total national shutdown.
We need to do interstate shutdowns. How fucking based would that be? Imagine if, like, all the Chad low COVID-19 states could lock their borders and have fucking state guardsmen all along the borders. Isn't that illegal? Fuck no. No tourism. Yeah. Unironically, we might actually have to end up doing that. Like, I mean, if we have some states that just refuse to comply and they remain COVID hotspots, but
I think that would be counterproductive. But there are constraints in which the degree to which businesses can be open. For example, it's one thing to say that you can have in a state that is there, where their infection rate is not as high, you can have a gymnasium open. It's another thing to say it can only be open 4 hours a day with X number of people. The church I go to, my Catholic church, they don't allow more than 40% of the people to come into the church. Those are rational decisions. It's not shutting down everything. It's calibrating based on what the threat is.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
President-elect.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President-elect, and thank you, Mr. President-elect and Vice President-elect Harris. A question for you first, which is, what do you make of the fact that the president is having these calls with Michigan county officials amid his bid to overturn the election? He's going to be having also Michigan Republican legislators at the White House tomorrow. Is anything that he's doing making you rethink your strategy? I know you say that you don't want to have legal action right now. And what do you say to Americans, especially immigrant Americans who came to the United States looking for political stability and seeing all the things that the president is doing?
Hang on, I'm on my way. That's what I say to them. Not a joke. And what the president's doing now is really
okay.
It's going to be another incident where he will go down in
Fear
history
not, citizen,
as being one of the most irresponsible presidents in American history. It's just out of the, not even within the norm at all. There's questions whether it's even legal, but it's going to be interesting to see who shows up in this call to meet with the leadership. And this is going to, we've won Michigan. It's going to be certified. We're going to end up making clear that making clear that we won. And, but it just, I just,
wake up!
It's hard to fathom how this man thinks. And it's hard to fathom. I'm confident he knows he hasn't won and is not going to be able to win, and we're going to be sworn in on January 20th. And I just, but far from me to question his motive. It's just outrageous what he's doing.
But as he ups the things that he's doing, calling officials, is it making you rethink your strategy at all? Is there anything that he would be doing that would make you say, okay, we really have to go to court now? Or are you still watching what he's doing and saying we can still kind of wait and see what happens?
I'm not going to rule anything out or anything in, but at the moment, the strategy is not changing.
And if I could ask a question to the Vice President-elect, would that be okay? Vice President-elect Harris, you talked about your state experience. My question is there anything that you heard from governors today that made you specifically concerned about vulnerable populations, especially as I talk to Americans who say, I don't have the privilege to work from home. I don't have the privilege to social distance if I'm living in a house with multi-generations. Did you hear anything that concerns you specifically? And what?
Yeah, okay. I don't think we're getting any more fucking hardball questions from this team. I'm not anticipating any rootin' tootin', point and shooting, roughhousing from this. Well, folks, I'm I'm a little sad because there's a ton more stuff that I wanted to talk about, but I am clearly reaching the limit of my poor throat. Yeah, sorry. I mean, you can hear me, you can see me clearing my throat. There's nothing I can do about it. But anyway, yeah, I'm gonna go and take a lozenge or something. All right. Be well, people. I love you all very much. I'm gonna try to stream tomorrow. Take care of yourselves, okay? Go to Lance. Go to the Surfs. Go over there. Go. Keep it going. Keep it going. Go. 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 Go.